Cool. There we go. Nice. I'm seeing the comments here in EVMux, so there's a slight chance we're live now, but I'm not yet seeing it on my other screen on the actual. Oh, there we go. Oh, good. Okay. I should perhaps mute this thing. How's it going, everybody?
Doing great.
Hello.
That's a thumbs up right there. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's crazy.
Indeed.
So I think the last one we did was in July or something like that. And then I moved. So this is the first time I'm doing this from my new apartment. And then life got turned upside down because like the move took way too long. And then I had several months catching up on the work that I didn't get to do. So yeah. We have 28 people in the chat. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for watching. It's great to have you guys here. And we have Maxime and Dave here, our wonderful guests. It's good to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming on. We have Mark and Brendan, and together we are Mark, Brendan, and Matt. Just so you guys know. Hello from Mexico. Hello from Ukraine. Munich, Vietnam. Sweet, man. Kilkenny. That's awesome. That's a...
South Park reference
joke, but every time I hear Kilkenny, I'm like, "Oh, that's a South Park reference."
Okay.
Haha. Freiburg in the Black Forest, wonderful. Oklahoma, USA, so many time zones. Good. Are you guys excited? Drop the likes.
Hell yeah!
I'm gonna drop a like. So
Wow, this is quite
liking
the
his own stream.
international cast of characters here.
Yeah, it is indeed. Good to see you guys. Dutch guy living in Sweden. Awesome. So what are we doing here? I forgot. What is this?
Break out the agenda.
Yeah, let's talk about the agenda. I don't think we have one this time, really. So this is Bridge Builders. For those of you who are new to it, this originally came about because Mark was bitching about how WordPress was like American politics. Everybody was at each other's throats. And I was like, we should do something where people get together and just, share experiences and look at different workflows and look at different page builders and how they work. And this is what we've been doing. We've had some wonderful guests in the past, various page builders. We've had Elementor, Beaver Builder. We've had Bricks, and what did Kevin? Yeah, Kevin was doing ACSS. We had Jonathan on, I don't remember.
Generate, I think, yeah. Generate.
Right, exactly. It was Generate,
and
exactly. So
Ruben,
whole bunch
Ruben
of
on
different
Breakdance, yeah.
Who'd you
and Breakdance.
Who'd you have building with Beaver
This
Builder?
one doesn't count.
The Beaver Builder was, I was building with Beaver Builder.
You were,
That's
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was painful. And
Come on now, doesn't matter.
Those are Dave's peeps, dude.
and now we're back. So yeah, this is both for us to kind of, for us as moderators to just see what different builders are like. Like, I'm curious about that stuff, and I want to hear about the creators and about people who work with these builders. But also, that's the beauty of it being live. You guys in the audience, you get to contribute, you get to ask questions, you get to yell, that kind of stuff. Do we want to say a little bit about ourselves, but perhaps just real quick? Team first, then the guests, and then we jump right in, or am I missing anything else?
I think we're good.
That
I'll
works.
start real quick. Just Mark Szymanski. If you want to go to mjs.bio, you can see all my links and everything like that. May have known me from the other episodes, but I make YouTube videos on here. I've had an agency in WordPress for a while. I'm very excited to see Dave and Maxime duke it out here, but just a friendly little engagement with the website that we have to look at here today. Brendan?
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Brendan O'Connell here. I do agency work. I have a YouTube channel, and I'm just excited to be back on this this platform. It's been a while, and I get people asking me, when's Bridge Builders coming back? So we bullied Matty to bring it back, and we're here. We got two great guests, and I'm excited.
Indeed. Yeah, I got bullied a lot. So yeah, and my name's Matt. I think I've already indicated, like, I originally came up with the idea, and then Mark was gracious enough to jump in, and that's how this started. And yeah, I'm from Germany. I'm sitting in the Saarland right now, small state in Germany, and I'm very much looking forward to what we're doing today. Maxime and Dave, do you want to say something about yourself, and perhaps at the same time, so we don't understand what you're saying?
No, you go first.
Dave, do you want to start?
Okay, sure. Dave Bloom, WordPress head for about 12 years. I've always been working with page builders. I started off with Headway, and then I went to Beaver Builder, and I've always been kind of hacking them, either building custom blocks or modules for them, or just like finding ways to bend them a little bit more towards the developer experience, even though they're both were tools that were explicitly designed for non-coders. So I'm kind of like an HTML evangelist, but I just believe in, cutting with the sharpest knife, and I'll make a bunch of food metaphors today. Generally, I do consulting work, teaching, build plugins. I can, do a whole site build, but I also my passion is for figuring out how to kind of bridge the gap, no pun intended, between us dorks and the rest of the people of the world who have products and services to offer, and just helping, to make the web a little bit easier to create on. So that's my spiel.
And we're going to hop over to Maxime.
Yeah, so my name is Maxime Beguin. I am the author of Advanced Themer for Bricks. If you are hanging out in the Bricks ecosystem, you probably heard of Advanced Themer that started like 1 year ago. And before that, when I started using WordPress, I used Divi mostly for like 3 or 4 years, and I used to have a white label agency for Divi builds, and so a large part of my career was to build a website for other agencies actually, and I shifted to Bricks like 2021 or something. And I started playing with the theme and the possibilities, and playing around with enhancing the functionalities of the theme. And I came up with this plugin, which is now taking 100% of my time. So totally dedicated to Advanced Themer right now.
I'm just going to say, it's hard to believe it's only been like 1.5 years that you've been doing this, because it feels like I've been using it forever, and I can't even imagine working without it. It's such an indispensable tool. So it's, for me personally, this is very interesting, because I came from the Beaver Builder world, like Dave did, and even Dave and I have talked. I think the first time a couple. Like we've been bouncing messages back and forth for quite a while, right? Like on and off. And I seem to remember, Dave, that you were even in Beaver Builder days, you were doing some heavy editing and working around the limitations of Beaver Builder. You were sort of using it as a canvas to build your stuff on, but not actually using it as intended. And I find that quite intriguing. In a moment, I want to go into that a little bit deeper. But then at the same time, just when I switched to Bricks, and then I switched in 2022, and then when Advanced Themer came out, I think I pretty much bought it very early on, and it's like it's crazy how my workflows have evolved and shifted since then. So it's, for me, it's exciting to have you guys on here for these reasons, because it kind of mirrors part of where I came from, or where I am now. What are we building today, boys? Who wants to pop the news?
You got to do it, dude.
I got to do it. Okay.
Pop it. Pop the cork.
It's it's a website called craft.do. Oops. I guess I could share my screen.
That'd be helpful.
I'm woefully unprepared. Hang on a second.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll just piggyback off of what you said about
Please
moving
do.
over from Beaver Builder. I remember watching some. I was a Divi guy back in the day too, so I remember watching Maxime's various YouTube videos before any brick stuff. So
Oh, you never said that to me. It's
I
the
think
first
I
time
did.
I know you. No, you didn't.
Oh. I thought I mentioned that I saw you. Yeah,
Oh, really?
you had some good tutorials back in the day.
That's crazy.
I did a couple of videos for Divi. Yeah.
Look at this site here. Holy cow.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Craft.do.
Big old
Who proposed
icons.
it? Was it Dave who first proposed it?
No, it's Maxime.
Maxime. Yeah. So this is software as a service, if I'm not mistaken, and in terms of layout, this is nothing too complicated, but it's a nice, beautifully well done layout, and there are a couple of small challenges in here, here and there in here, I guess, and I don't even know yet what you guys have prepared, but I think we should be ready to just jump right into it. I'd like to go first with Dave and see, Dave, what you would do to build some parts of this website. And in terms of how this is going to go, some of the OGs in the audience may remember that the first couple episodes, what we did was we had one hour, give or take, one person showing off their workflows, and then another hour the other person. We kind of want to try to jump back and forth a little bit more, but we'll see where the flow takes us, really. But if we start with Dave, I think that's a good start. Dave, do you want to share your screen?
Sure.
And just
I also probably want to say a few things about
Yeah.
what I'm going to be showing and what
Yes,
to
please.
expect. And I'm just going to try to get ahead of any kind of weird bugs or whatever. But for the most part, so Aviator is an experiment, and it is I guess you could think about it, if you've ever used CodePen, it's an attempt to put a kind of CodePen-ish developer experience on top of WordPress, just like most builders do. Most traditional page builders will, and you're seeing my screen, right?
Not yet. Should I? Yeah, I can. I mean, I see it in the lobby. I can bring it on.
Okay, no, that's cool. You can just stay on me if you need to. So,
It's on now.
Okay,
It's too
great.
late.
So the approach I'm taking to this is instead of just making yet another page builder where we are dragging and dropping modules, nodes, elements, blocks, whatever you call them, onto a canvas, and those are things like headings or pieces of text or buttons or carousels or whatever. It's backing up and going back to first principles of what actually comprises the end result of a website, which is HTML. So it's like an HTML first builder. And so I personally believe that a lot of the times, in the efforts to capture a no-code market, which is the largest market of consumers, there's more non-coders than coders in this world. It's very easy to jump very quickly into, we should build a no-code tool and create this abstraction layer between scary code and output. And so the block editor did this, and there were a lot of bumps along that road, and there still are. Page builders do it in different ways, and this causes a little bit of I would say, throwing the baby out with the bathwater when you lose some of the expressiveness of code and some of the portability of it. And so you're basically being told, you can do X or N things that we decide that you can do. So going back to something like CodePen, you can do whatever you want in CodePen. If for those of you who don't know what CodePen is, it's like an online HTML, CSS, and JavaScript playground. So you can just type code and then you get an immediate output of what you're seeing. You talked about, and I'll end my spiel in a sec. You talked about me using Beaver Builder, and so what I found is that like over time, I started using page builders with the way that they wanted to be used, but then every page builder has like a custom code or an HTML blocker module. And I started finding that I was reaching for those more and more as I wanted to do more bespoke, specific things, like, you know, sneaking an icon inside of a button or making an overlay behind something, or just something that like the module or the row or column like didn't let me do. Even if it was adding ARIA attributes or imbuing behavior or adding custom classes, I always had to kind of butt up against what the developers of the builder had in mind. And they're trying to capture as much of the wide world of HTML and CSS and JavaScript and PHP that they can, but they're always going to be constraining you to that. So like that abstraction layer, I wanted to kind of clear it out of the way and start with an HTML editor for HTML people, especially for developers who might be going nuts trying to use a page builder. A lot of developers like famously hate them because they're introducing somebody else's abstraction layer in front of their code. So let's make a new page here. You can see this, right?
Yep.
And I'm just gonna jump into Aviator, and I'll show you around a little bit before I start like laying brick. And this is like in need of a little bit of polish, but I think it's gonna do the job.
Also, real
So
quick,
this is-
if I could just jump
yeah.
in real quick. If you guys are in the chat and you look in the description of this, there's a link to Dave's mailing list, because I just want to say that up top because Aviator's brand new, and Dave's going to continue working on it and everything like that. So if you're interested in seeing the progress, make sure you go hop on Dave's mailing list to see that.
I have
Sorry, Dave,
abandoned that mailing list is ice cold, and everybody who's on it, maybe who forgot who I was, but I'm just going to rise from the ashes at some point and be like, hello. Sorry I haven't emailed you in like 4 years, but
Hand
new
over
thing here.
money.
Check it out. Yeah, right. I'm selling this. No. Okay, so this, you can see this, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is Aviator. This is the dashboard, and it is a you can already see that it's kind of like code penish. If I tuck this little library and this little like table of contents area out of the way, we basically have like a canvas on which we put things and write things and like preview different screen sizes and stuff, and then an editor where we can edit the nodes in that canvas. I'm calling them nodes. I guess we all have our own way of calling these like sovereign little pieces of a layout. Whatever we call them. I think in Bricks it's elements, right? Is that right?
Sure.
Sorry, everybody
Yeah.
has to unmute themselves. Yeah, it's correct.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so like I call them nodes. That's actually a nod to Beaver Builder because that's how they like kind of categorize their things. But they actually call the draggable pieces modules, and then they have like rows and columns and things like that those go into. But all of them are kind of categorized as nodes. So the first thing like I wanted to tackle with Aviator was saying like, all right, no more collection of opinionated nodes to start with. You don't have this pool of like stuff. Everything is an HTML module. Everything is an HTML node, and you write in within there so that you are not constrained to that that node's settings that the developer has so benevolently put in front of you. And so it's just an editor. And so if I want to add a blank node to this, I just drag it up and drop it, and I'm immediately like able to add HTML to this. And so my editor, you know, if I want to say like, you know, make a paragraph and type some more MIPS and text, I get that immediate connection just like you do with most HTML tools. So that was like kind of the first thing. You're not going to see a bunch of like style settings, and you're not going to see what it was famously dubbed. I think it might even been Brian Cords who said this, the airplane cockpit of like fields and tabs and drop downs that you have to like learn and mentally model. You're just, the code is just there. And that's going to scare a lot of people away, a lot of WordPressers. And it's going to attract others, but it's a niche thing already because we're not constraining you to like you're building this now and you can't, like you're building a button. If you want to build a button, you just put a button there and you style it, right? So you are not beholden to anything if you need to make a pivot or an adjustment or, you know, shoehorn something in there. So in this case, I should probably start building, I guess, this top part. I'm going to wait on the nav. I want to get the hero ready and like say how the HTML that I'm going to write is going to weave into the design system. But before I get to that, I want to talk about Aviator CSS. So I was a big Tailwind fan. I ran into Tailwind a few years ago. I saw it, I think, for 6 months to a year before I actually started using it, because like everybody else who sees it, who's kind of an old head in programming, I was like, that's ugly, that's disgusting, that's vandalizing the HTML, that assaults my mental model of how I think about semantic CSS and adding a class hook onto some HTML and then styling that. But they say this in their documentation. They're saying it's going to look gross, it's going to assault your senses. But once you actually start using it, you start to realize that it's worth it in fundamental ways, and that you don't have to make up class names for things. Making changes is safer site-wide because everything is localized to the thing you're working on. And your CSS file doesn't become 1,000 lines of bullshit that you were just like, giant tangle of wires. So I started using it, but then I started realizing like I was reaching for something a little bit more expressive. In Tailwind, you'll add a class, like if you want to add padding to something, you add the class P-4. That means padding 1 rem. I don't know if any of y'all have messed with Tailwind or not. It's kind of weird not to see you, by the way, but I'm just going to like, hopefully I'm looking at, okay. So like you have to parse some of those abbreviations out, and Tailwind has an incentive to like really like shrink things down, because they're trying not to be so verbose as to vandalize your HTML. But then I had to like figure out P4, and then I do 4 divided by 1, that's 1 rem. And then I had to go to other classes like text dash whatever would be like the size or the color. And they had all these kind of like I don't know, switches, like their class names are not the property names in CSS, nor are the numbers always the values you're getting. So you have to do all this math. And when you see a lot of those classes in a row on an element, you're like, you're a little bit confused and you have a lot of work to do. Instead, I cooked up something called Aviator CSS here that allows you to do things like this. I'm going to bump this font size in this editor way up here so you can see it. So if I said like lorem ipsum paragraph, right? And I'm using Emmet to encode mirror here to like expand out like abbreviations. So if I type like P tab, it'll just do that for me. I can add a class to this that pretty much just, I tell it what I want it to be. So I say like, make this color blue, and it does it. Okay. So let's make a div with like padding, like 5 rem, and we'll put that paragraph in it. There's no question as to what these things are doing, and it's very clear to me what's going on. And anybody, even a non-coder, if I told them to go in and change this paragraph to red, they could probably figure out how to do that, right? So this simple example is like really important because it's expressive, it's declarative, and it says, what the F it is. There's no like, I have to go find a settings tab to figure out what's changing this color. I have to go figure out where the developer put the colors anyway, or if they put them under styles or advanced or globals, or if they have a color picker, or if the color picker has RGB or not, or opacity or not. I just say what I want it to be, and it is. It is localized, which some like semantic CSS people might be like, oh no, bad. But it's there, and that is really important because you're looking at this in a specific kind of like context. It is verbose, and it's I guess if you wanted to add more styles to it, like font size, like 10 rem or something like that, you could do it. And maybe you're thinking, oh no, this is starting to grow out of control. I should probably give this a class of my class and then style this in CSS. But hang with me here. Like having all of this information in front of you helps you to be able to see the full like design picture of what you're doing. Does that make sense? Anybody got any questions so far? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. So technically, and yeah, I think this needed to be like explained before I started building the hero, and I'm probably going to take more time like doing theoretical explanations like this than actually building. But I hope that that's okay, because I think with something this new and something this like outside of the lines, it probably you would otherwise be like, what the hell are you doing? This is technically this string, this uninterrupted string is a class. Technically, you're not like allowed to put colons inside class names. There are some like characters that aren't like allowed, and there's also things like classes need to start with and all that jazz. But actually, the way that HTML5 and CSS3 work is that if you escape them when they are being like written to CSS, which this actually is as I type, if you like escape this, like that's how it gets kind of like printed out, then it will work. So you can use any symbols you want in a class as long as the ones that you're not allowed to use are escaped, which means you can start to like actually develop your own syntax for CSS, and you can start to develop like your own language. But it's kind of a huge pain in the ass to like escape stuff all the time and have to manage that. So this manages it for you. And the syntax here is like, it's kind of like inline styles. So if I were to say like, text decoration underline, we'd get an underline, right? So it's not too different from that. But the difference between this, and this is an argument that Tailwind CSS makes, they're like, why don't you just use inline styles? Well, for some strange reason, the style attribute of HTML doesn't allow you to do media queries. It doesn't allow you to do hover and focus states. It's like part of CSS. It's just for kind of like inserting like little things, but it doesn't let you do the things that you need CSS to do, which always kind of confused me. I'm like, why didn't they just allow you to? But having a huge media query with 2 curly braces and all that stuff in here would get kind of insane. So here's what we can do here. If I wanted this to only be read on medium screens, I could just insert, just like Tailwind CSS, a modifier in front of it. So it's going to be that color on mobile, that color on medium screens. And if I wanted it to be like blue down here, I get this. So I'm able to do responsive design in a similarly declarative way that pretty much makes color blue, medium color red. That makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. I mean, like I'm going to assume that this makes sense to y'all, but I wanted to boil this down and be super simple about it. The reason why I do this is because I believe that the benefits from having even a very verbose, as you'll see as I build more complex things, having all that information in front of you in one like panel, if you look at it like, is this pretty? You're going to say no. If you look at it through another lens of, is this informative? Does this allow me to move across the markup and see what is giving this thing its styles, or what's giving this thing its information? Then the answer is a resounding yes. And the answer to the abstraction of no code and also semantic CSS is kind of no. You have to look somewhere else to discover what is making this look like this. And so I thought, like, I prefer that's the argument for like, once you start using this, you realize that benefit of having everything in front of you. And I often make this analogy to putting together like a jigsaw puzzle. When you put together a jigsaw puzzle, you likely dump all of the pieces onto the table and you sort them out. You find the corners, you find like areas of common like color that fit together. Objectively speaking, when you do that, you're making a huge mess. And if you look at it and go like, oh, this is such a cluttered mess, I should probably just take one puzzle piece at a time and see where that should go, right? But that sounds silly, because you need to see the whole picture of the puzzle in order to like divine relationships and understanding from it. So this is the puzzle dumped out. Like, this is like you being able to find this and then have all of that data available to you without throwing the code out with the bathwater. And then you can move towards making this less of an eyesore without getting rid of it. So the problem is not that code is bad. The problem is that is like, it's a lot. It's information overload. But if you can manage that information with things like folding or formatting or even like folding classes, which is something I kind of made up for this case, then you can start to get a clearer picture of like, you can kind of tuck things away as you don't need to look at them. But I actually find that I like to look at everything, and that seeing something like a banner being built with this, or like this, there's a lot of information here now, but it's all there. There's no fat on it. Every one of these classes is doing something, and you can probably take a look at some of them and go like, okay, this is a flex container. Its flex direction is column. It has a gap. This is, well, I'm going to explain the custom elements in a second, but this is something else that is holding stuff, and it has these styles. And these are the only styles here. There's no empty inputs. There's no empty classes. There's no even real specific class names. And I can kind of see, if I want to get rid of this button, like how to edit this and how to change, you know, this headline. And I get an instant feedback and instant reaction to it. And if I want to go and make adjustments to it, it's not too big of a step with type and color here to see like, all right, I need to decrease the size or increase the size of this. So maybe I just go and change this to 11 or 12. So as I explain here, I'm gonna actually show off another little DX thing that I came up with. This is inspired by DevTools. If you highlight something and just click the up or down arrows, you can just cycle through the integers. So that really helps me to make big taglines that I might need to build something like this. I can hit Command E when I'm inside of one of these tags to select all the text, and I just paste it. So we have now a relationship where I can kind of, these might look alien to you right now, or some of them might be like, what's going on with this? Or what does this mean? Or what is this variable? But as I go, I will be able to explain those. I'd love to bounce those things off of you, but any like initial questions before I keep moving forward with this build? I felt like I was rambling there for a while.
On me, I think for him to actually hear. Okay, go ahead, Brennan. Yeah, you should be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thanks to Toby for pointing that out.
Yes, thank you, chat. In Tailwind, there's like the @apply, right, where you can, condense a bunch of classes into like, I guess, sort of a custom class idea.
Yeah.
Is that what's going on here with like that eyebrow text? Do you have custom classes at all, or?
The eyebrow. Here, let me put that back. One of my biggest problems with Tailwind, I think other Tailwind people might understand this, is that when you're styling certain types of elements, they require a lot of, we'll actually see it here because this is Tailwind. They require a ton of classes, and there's a kind of DX problem with that, and I'll explain. So this is a Next.js site, and it's done in Tailwind, and you're probably going to see a lot of classes on this H1. Ooh, it's trying to animate itself. So you can see that it's giving it a text size, which they're using text, not font size, which is kind of confusing. They're giving it a weight, which isn't using font weight, so you have to parse that out and so on. They're giving it a color. They're giving it a text size on medium screens. They're giving it a text size on large screens. Looks like they're using green sock too. So like, that's a lot. That's like 5-6 different classes, and it's not even that styled. They're not doing things like setting letter spacing, which would be nice to see these like headlines tightened up a little bit. They're not setting, I think the line height comes with those utilities, but then that's doing like 2 things, and it's not very explicit, and you're not quite sure what the line height is at any given time. So with apply, that's something that's like you use in the Tailwind build process so that you can still make a semantic class, but pull down the values from Tailwind's design system to like still like work semantically with it. If I want to work semantically with this and I want to just call this like I can just write regular semantic CSS. I'm a big proponent. I think I mentioned this in the hangout we had before the call. Like, I think you should be able to use both. Use what you need to create the foundation, but if you need something to be like specific, like this shimmering button, for example, it would be ridiculous to try to craft that animation in local styles. Just write a class, use CSS. So if I wanted to say like, my class or something like that, and I could pull up and write some CSS for that.
Oops.
And I just say, like whatever font weight, like 900, and do that. So like this is overwriting that type style. So I could still do that, and nothing is stopping me from doing that. And I can also, do something like my prop or something like that is this, and then we just say like var, my prop, and let's see, then I might have to come after that. Did I do that right? Or maybe I have to say font weight. Wait, let's go like here. So make properties important. So you can still like make a design system where your class makes all this work. That's what's important. We're not like all in on utility classes, nor are we all in on semantic CSS. You use them when you need to move things around. So if I needed to like bump this paragraph down a bit, or I needed to make like a button where I had a class of like like that, and I felt like that button was too close to the text, I could just give it a margin top, like 1 rem, and it would oops, did I miss the end? It would bump it down, and I can move it around. I didn't have to name this button. I didn't have to name this paragraph. I didn't have to name the hero. I'm just able to insert things without being burdened with like what to call this, or being burdened with having to go find out, did they give me the option to put a button in here? And did they give me an option to, I don't know, rotate the button? I'm not spelling properly these days. So if I want to like rotate it and be playful, can I do that in the page builder? Probably not. I have to add custom CSS, which means I have to name it hero button, and then I'm like getting caught up in all that. Like the CSS is growing.
I remember doing that in Beaver Builder on one website. It's just a whole bunch of utility classes.
Yeah.
And then CSS in the magic area.
Yeah. So like, in addition to being able to, by the way, jump up and down with the up and down arrow keys, I use like the dev tools way of doing things. So if I hold option, I want to like kind of like move this up slightly. You can see the integers changing. Yeah. So this is like, there's some stuff in here that I think is just how HTML should work. And you can't do this in VS Code because VS Code is like, there's extensions, but it's pretty much a walled garden. It's a proprietary piece of software. I can't just go in and like tell this to happen. But this is Code Mirror, and Code Mirror is it's putting code in the DOM. It's putting this mirror of your text area in here, so you can respond to things. You can say, is a number selected? If so, when I press the up arrow key, replace the number by 1 plus the number. And there's like, might sound like mega dorky, but being able to reach in and like craft these like developer experience wins, like even being able to select all of this text with one keyboard shortcut, is just things that like I think developers would appreciate. So maybe we should.
Dave, if I could, Dave, if I could jump in just real quick, because we do want to see build.
Yeah.
But obviously, this is a very new concept. I mean, obviously you created this, right? So I think everyone in the chat is kind of like enamored and seeing, and hearing the description and everything like that. I think what we should do, I think there's a couple poignant questions that we should discuss, and then we could just see it in action. Because I mean, I love the overview there. I mean, I know we heard about it the other day on our call, but that was fantastic.
Cool.
I'll pull one up here, Matty, if you got some too. Toby said, Dave, this is a good one. How do we solve for scalability? I think you kind of mentioned that with classes a little bit, but I mean, I think that's going to be a lot of people's main things are like maintainability, scalability. Obviously, there's a level of speed, I feel like, to this, and a level of how do you call it, more like just like there's like a level of like simplicity, quick readability, those types of things. But like, do you have some examples? There were some talks about like components and things like that. How do you see that at a high level working
That's a
with
great
Aviator?
question. Yep. So componentry is kind of a cornerstone of some of our more modern front-end frameworks like React and Vue and Svelte and those things. And when you think about it, let's say that you had like a hero, or you had this thing, like this kind of like bento box thing that you want to kind of like globally componentize in case you need to show it off in different places, or even show it in these two places. And so I don't know how well like Bricks does this. I assume Bricks is at the head of the pack as far as componentry goes. But something that I built for this all like was born out of it's coming. Okay. So it's coming to here too, but like I actually got it working in Beaver Builder because Aviator actually started as a module for Beaver Builder. It was this inside of a Beaver Builder custom module. And I was just hooking into like the change events to make crazy stuff happen. But one thing I realized is that like I want a shape, like let's say like a banner on top of a page or a post, and then I want to be able to like put instance specific data into that mold, into that shape. So like the page title or the excerpt or the background image for this one. And you can do that with like ACF and with like some like template parts and templating and stuff. But I found that like you have to, the previewing is a little bit rocky there. And how I ended up like solving this was I actually created a short code. I created a custom post type for a global component. It was actually a short code where you actually put content inside of the short code. So the short code's outer, like the outer pieces of bread would like control the shape of what was going to be rendered. And then it would smartly just draw the content in from inside of itself to make a global component where you could edit the shape in one place as a single source of truth, but that you could hydrate it with instance specific data so that you could like pepper like a CTA or a bento box or a banner across your site. That's coming here right now. I'm still working statically just to kind of iron out all the kinks. But one thing I think I wanted to do to transition to actually building is because all of this is declarative and because all of the styles and structure are baked into the same string, essentially, chunk of text, that means that this is incredibly portable and that I could text this to you. And if you had Aviator, you'd paste it and you get what I got. And I think the promise of the web, we've probably all had clients that have looked at something, a cool banner, nice navigation bar, even what we're doing today, and gone like, can you just, like they've asked us like naively, can you just copy and paste that code and put it into my site and have it? And the answer is a resounding, of course not, because they're writing in a different language. They have different CSS files enqueued or JavaScript files enqueued. It's just not going to work. But the more and more you approach this declarative way of putting the data in the chunk, the more portable it gets. And that means you can save these things as components. And this is the library. I'm going to just delete this. And so I was playing around with some of these components. I was playing around with layouts and what I call, and regions, what I call groups of layouts. And so we have like the ability to save sections, which a lot of builders do, and save like groups of sections and save entire layouts very quickly. So like the work that a meticulous designer can do to create something special, which we will create here, can be saved for later and can be saved for other people who have the same builder to use like super quickly. There's no like import export kind of thing you need to do. It's just a copy and paste job. You could send it in a Slack message. You could send it in a tweet. It is the source of truth. It is the HTML. That's why HTML is so important not to get rid of that, because it is just copy and pasteable. And so a ton of knowledge work can be embedded in a string of it. And then that can be like, it could take me 2 hours to build a navigation bar, or maybe it'll take me an hour. and that navigation bar would be responsive. It would have a responsive drop-down hamburger that would turn into an X. It would be accessible. It would trap tab focus on the panel. It would do all the things that I know how to do, and then I could just give it to you, and you could just paste it and be done. That doesn't really exist quite yet. I know that there's things like frames, and there's things like Beaver build. What's the bricks template library called? Or
there's
frames is one of them.
There's bricks.
Okay. Or
bricks
like the default ones, or whatever they have. Like they have and so that's the idea behind those, is that work that we all have to do can be done and leveraged, so that a user of this thing doesn't have to start with a blank slate and count on them having like a bunch of skills and be good at page building and have a good page builder in order to make a great site. You should just be able to buy a great layout, right? Like somebody's already done the work. There's no need for you to do it too. So if somebody has made the perfect navigation bar, the perfect hero, or a passable one, you just take it and you drop it in, and this is all written for you. Okay. And it's responsive, and it does like little things like make the buttons full width and gapped on a mobile device, but then when it pops up to here, make them more pilly. That is done with some very careful excuse me, Flux classes on their container. And I can actually identify their container just by inspecting it with this little Roy G. Biv style class. I can give like elements like little borders, so I can see what translates over here. And so it's just a handful of properties. They're being flexed. Their flex direction column on mobile, and their flex direction row on medium screens or small screens and larger. There's a small gap between them. There's a small margin top, and that I can like dial up and down if I want to increase some more space. And I can just see the entire design picture from here. It does look like the Matrix at first if you kind of zoom out and blur your eyes and you're like, oh my God, this is insane. But what you find is after you use this for a while, you just don't look at this other stuff and you just kind of like look closely at this. But you can also do things like folding and unfolding. I want to like fold this. Yeah.
It seems to me like anything will become muscle memory after a while. It just takes time to learn, but I can see how this can be really useful once you get the hang of it.
Yeah.
There is, for somebody like me, there would be a very large learning curve, and I would presume that I haven't used Tailwind, and I would guess that if in a few years down the line I were to buy Aviator, there would probably be like a cheat sheet or like a YouTube video or something that kind of gives me all the shortcuts to look up and to learn.
Yes.
Is probably my guess.
That's a good observation. The component library is pretty much going to be the idea. But as we go on, I don't want to take too much time just blabbing about theory, but that's I wanted to set the stage for what I was doing. But I also want to give one more kind of example that I often bring up, and that is something that I think every web designer and non-coder for that matter has done. Two things actually. One is embed a video from YouTube. The other is put a Google Analytics tag into the head of your site. Have you guys all done both of those?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So in both of those instances, you are being served up a code snippet. That's probably, 5 to 10 lines of code. You don't know what it's doing. It's gobbledygook. But that doesn't matter because you have a clear path to copying it and pasting it into your site and getting a result. The result from Google Analytics is that you can see that Google Analytics is active and you start to see visits. The obvious result from a YouTube embed is that it goes in there and you can see that you can play it and it like fits the container, right? So we all kind of nobody stops at a YouTube embed code and goes, whoa, I'm not a coder, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right? They just take it and they put it in, and then the validation of that paste or that operation working is that they can see it. It works, right?
Yeah.
It always works. So that principle, like, I think you can extend that to UI.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can extend it to pages. I think you can extend it to layouts and sections and other things where you might paste something then that you don't understand. But there are ways in which we might be able to help you to understand little pieces of it or extract some of the parts of it that you care about. Like in this case, the client might care about the text. And this, they might not care about anything else. They're paying you to do the structure, but they want to fill it in. So the idea would be like to hoist this out into a way that they can edit it. And in this case, that can just be done with a field.
Right.
So I'll show off fields later. I don't want to take too much time. Like
I was going
away
to
from
suggest.
Maxime, I wanted to kind of switch back.
I was
But
going to
anyway,
suggest that we use this moment to switch to Maxime.
yeah.
Like we kind of hold that thought. There's a couple of questions in the chat that we haven't yet answered, but I noted them, and I think it might be interesting to now switch. And I want to see if you guys agree to now switch to Maxime, and just Maxime, you jump in and you present what you were going to present. I believe it's called Advanced Themer.
Yeah.
And then we kind of take it from there for a while, and then we kind of bounce back to Dave and pick up where we left off, but with the added perspective from what Maxime is about to show us. Does that make sense? Like then we can pick up the lingering questions from your presentation now. And what I would also like to see now, that like you've described a lot of you've given us a lot of context and backdrop for better understanding how this works. It would be cool to see you now kind of hammer out one or two sections. Like, how would you, as a professional, having good control of this tool, how would you just build two sections, like without much explanation, like just basically narrate what you're doing and then just put them out there?
This is
After
bridge
we- after-
builders after all. I thought it was bridge talkers.
Yeah, right.
I need to set the stage first, or else you guys would be like, what
No,
the
this
hell?
is
No, I
great.
appreciate
Like, just also, like there's also been a couple comments in the chats that you're really doing great. So thank you very much for that.
Well, I bet Maxime's actually going to build something, so I'm looking forward to that.
I don't know.
Okay, then let's switch. And Maxime, you're on.
Okay, so yeah, I'm probably going to do something a bit different from Dave, because I'm going to assume that the people that are watching this stream are somehow confident with bricks or Bridge Builder, so they are not new. So I'm not going to explain how bricks work. Okay, I'm going to try to explain how Advanced Steamer is enhancing the experience in bricks. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen if it works.
Let's see.
It should be this one. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, here we go. So the first part is the part where I set everything in Advanced Steamer. So, of course, I'm not going to review every feature in Advanced Steamer because there are over 150 or something, or 60 or something. So it's impossible for me to review everything. But I'm just going to start by enable basically everything.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a quick question before you start. Did you also get one of the early licenses, like the early LTDs, or did you only get one after the ACF thing? Because I have one of the early LTDs, and I'm really proud of it. Just messing with you.
You're one of the lucky guys.
I know, right?
Okay. So you owe me money, basically, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I will later. I will send you my PayPal so you can.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, everything is. I mean, I toggle off a couple of things, but basically, consider that every builder tweaks in Advanced Themer are on, and I'm going to build a page explaining how some features in Advanced Themer can help you building better and building quicker. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to create a page. Let's create home page. Home page. Okay, publish. And edit to Wix. Okay, so as some of the advanced themer users may recognize on the first site, is we have new things inside the builder. Okay, we have this section on the right to add quick elements to our structure. We have new icons here, new icons on the top here, and all these icons and new stuff inside the builder correspond to a workflow enhancement, let's say like this. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do when you're using Advanced Themer is, if you are not using a framework, is to integrate your basic variables and colors and maybe some classes to your environment to make it more easy to work with. So we don't start from scratch. So the first thing I want to do is to import some variables. I'm going to go on the Utopia's website. Okay, just showing you how quick it is to, is it this one? No. Utopia, fluid scale. Okay. This one. You can use others, other variable generator, but I find myself quite confident with this one. So we can go to space, for example. Let's just take the basic one. It doesn't really matter. We are just going to copy these variables. We may not need the pairs, so let's just take the normal ones. Come back to the builder. We are going to open the variable manager. The variable manager is a feature from Advanced Themer that has been also integrated in Bricks, but the Advanced Themer one has still some features in more than the native one. And we are going to create a category for the space. So let's just create space and import these variables, import variables. And now we have these variables to work with that we can integrate with the builder. And I'm going to show you how to leverage these variables inside our build in a moment. Let's just do the same with typography. So type here. We have this typography here. Copy. Come back. You can stop me if you have any question at any moment. I'm just going straight forward, and if there is anything unclear, just stop me and say, "What are you doing, Maxime?" Okay. So I'm creating a typography category, and I'm going to import my variables, and now we have this one for typography. Okay, and we can also save to database. Now, let's just stop for space and typography. We're okay with it. We are going to integrate the colors. So on the craft website, from what I see, there is only one dominant color. I didn't make a big overview of the website before, but I'm guessing that this color is the primary, and we are just going to take it. So where it is, it will be this one, I guess. And this is the color. Yeah, let's get rid of this variable, but basically it's this one. Okay. Okay, let's come back to Bricks, and now we are going to open another model from Advanced Themer, which is the color variable. Let's just open it, and you see a new panel that doesn't exist in Bricks, where you can add and manage your global colors. So let's create a new palette by clicking here, add new palette, main palettes. Okay, and we are going to create our primary color. and assign this RGB. So sorry, let's see the number 4609 and 233. 4609 233. 4609 233. Right? It should be this blue. Okay, so when we create colors using Advanced Themer panel, basically we are generating variables for colors. There are no static values, so basically we are creating this var primary that we can now assign on our elements. Okay, so we took like 5 minutes just to get the first thing, the variables to start with, and it will make our build a lot easier. I can here on my primary, I can generate the shades in just a few clicks. So we are going to generate 6 shades for light, dark, and transparent shades. Just generate shades, and all our shades are generated.
I'm going to jump in here real quick.
Okay.
Stephen Vaughn, if he's still in the audience, he contacted me a couple months ago and was wondering, and we were talking for a bit about how AT and ACSS work together. And I've been meaning to make a video about this because I started using ACSS about like in May, June, after using AT for over a year already. And I found it very cool how you can choose some of the things that ACSS also offers. Like for instance, ACSS has its own color system as well. So if I want to, I can disable the color system in AT and use the ACSS system, and nothing breaks, and there's not going to be any conflict. So it's really nice how well the tools work together.
Yeah.
Not that, of course, not that I would ever want to disable anything in AT, obviously.
No, I mean the basics of Advanced Themer is it is framework agnostic. So you should be able to use the function from Advanced Themer with any framework of your choice or no framework at all. Okay. And what I say about this framework integration is I take this example. Even if ACSS or any other framework bring you a lot of utility classes, you're not going to disable the function to create new classes, right? So it's not like you are using ACSS, but you don't want this field anymore because you have already your utilities. You still want to be able to add new classes, just the same way that you want to be able to add new CSS variables and also add eventually new colors. Because my point of view is always a framework shouldn't limit yourself activity, right? So if ACSS comes with 4 or 5 colors, predefined a predefined system with five colors, and you want 8, okay, you should be able to match your creativity, and you don't have to match the framework proposition. Right? So this is the way I see it. Yeah, you're welcome to use any framework using Advanced Themer, but my recommendation, my suggestion is to keep this function available in Advanced Themer in case you need it. It's as simple as that.
There's another question that came in from Bob, and this goes back to what to the beginning where you were showing the settings tab or the settings tabs for Advanced Themer in the backend, and he was wondering if you could just quickly cycle through the tabs and just show what's there and what you have enabled.
If you do that, I can try to do that in a couple of minutes, because otherwise we are going to spend like 2 hours to.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean,
don't explain them all. Just show them, and people can stop.
Exactly.
Pause the video.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, can you repeat?
You don't need to explain all of them. Just you can show the tabs, and people can pause the video.
Oh, okay.
If they want.
So let's go back to.
Otherwise, we're going to be here for like 18 hours.
Yeah. I'm going to try to be as quick as possible, right? So we have now the section on the top, the main section on global settings, where you can define the global settings from Advanced Themer. So you can. This is new. This is coming in the 2.10 release, the page transition, where you can set animation from one page to another. When you click on links, there will be a lot of new settings in here on the global level, on the page level, and on the element level. It's quite a complex topic. I will cover in my overview of 2.10 when it will be out. You can also disable or enable any element for bricks from this list. You can set permission, and you can set also import and export and reset the settings. We have a bunch of new properties that you can enable or disable for your export and import files. Okay. The global colors, it used to be a really long section because everything was done inside the theme settings, but since 2.0, I think, everything is migrated inside the builder. So now, as I showed before, all the management from the global colors are done inside the builder. So you just have a few settings remain here. If you want to set a prefix, enable the dark mode on front end, and set a global meta theme color here. We have also some Gutenberg settings where you can replace Gutenberg color palettes. Basically import the bricks palette inside Gutenberg, okay, so that they are synced together. And you can also remove the default Gutenberg presets if you are not going to use them. This is usually the case. CSS variables, it's exactly the same thing as the colors before. All your CSS variables were set inside the theme settings, but now they are inside the builder, so you don't have to do crazy things here, but you can just set your base font size, your minimum viewport width, maximum viewport width, and the clamp unit. This is for creating clamp function inside the builder. Okay, you can also import framework and theme variables. These I won't cover because they are a bit more complex, but you have also other advanced abilities to work with CSS framework here. Okay, CSS classes is really easy. You have two options. You have the ability to create grid utility classes, and also class importer, which is the possibility to import the CSS files and parse it and integrate the classes that are inside your CSS file and make them global classes inside the builder. Okay, so they are connected together, your external CSS file and the global classes used inside the builder. And the grid utility classes, I'm going to use it in the build, so just to show you after. So it will make sense when I explain it after. But of course, in Advanced Themer, the big chunk of the value is the builder tricks, of course. And builder tricks, we have basically 5 categories. All the builder tricks that are in the top bar. We have the responsive helper. We have a new feature in 2.10, which is zoom out. And you have here a lot of shortcuts that you can enable, but they are not necessary. You don't have to enable the shortcut anymore because every global function in Advanced Themer is inside this AT main menu, which is recommended. And basically, if you go into the home page, once you enable the AT menu, you have this icon on the top bar. If you click on it, you see that open a drop down with all the function, the global function from Advanced Themer. Okay, of course, I'm not able to review each one of them, but for example, we just use the global color manager here. You see that if I click on it, it opens the global manager.
I think with the builder tweaks, that's something that's going to be very, very impressive if we see it in action. So my suggestion would be, if you go back to the backend, just flip over the tabs real quick on the left and just say, okay, there's stuff on the structure panel, yada yada. And then we should go into the actual build, because I think people are going to understand best if they see them.
Yeah, I'm not going to review one by one because it will take too much time. But just keep in mind that there are tweaks that are applied on the top bar, inside the structure panel, inside the contextual menu from the structure panel too. You have a lot of tweaks to manage your classes and your styles. Okay, you have also here the advanced CSS editor, which is a big tweak from AT. And then you have basically a lot of enhancements on the elements level, and these need to be shown inside the builder to understand the value. Okay, right.
And really quick on that, I know people are always complaining about no documentation. Those little eye icons in the back end, though, those are very helpful. So
Yeah, they're really useful.
everyone go and read those.
Yeah,
Don't send me any more emails.
These boxes where there is a little description. So I'm planning to add like an external icon to link to the website documentation. But yeah, it's I'm working on it. I've worked a lot lately to add all the video content on Advanced Themer and link it to the homepage of Advanced Themer. And I'm going to in the next months work a lot on the documentation. So it should be easier for the users to get the information in the coming weeks.
Find your way around. Yeah, I think to summarize, it's easy to say like you can really count the number of features in Advanced Themer on one hand if you have 800 fingers total.
Yeah.
So also, I just want to point out, I know that's a lot to take in, but on the Advanced Themer YouTube channel, there's videos that really go in depth about all the features. Yeah. It's a while to watch all of it, but it is really useful and very valuable.
Yeah. So basically, I just want to show you that for the new user here, if you go to the Advanced Themer team website, sorry. There's a new section now, the feature finder. If you click on it, you'll see the list of all the features in Advanced Themer. They are now.
I didn't even know that.
Okay.
Nice.
And you can also filter them with tutorials. Okay. And for example, if I go to the focus mode, I know that there is a video tutorial. And if you go there, you will see that there is a video that talks about this feature. If you click on it, there are timestamps that explain this feature. So you should be able, with a bit of effort, to get to a presentation of each feature. And the scope, the goal is to every feature in Advanced Themer will have at least one video to explain the trick in a couple of minutes.
Let's see some magic, Maxime.
Okay, let's go.
Build us something nice.
Okay, I'm going to start here. So I'm going to start without the nav. I'm going to probably make the nav later. Let's get rid of that. And let's create this section first, okay? So first of all, you see that we have these shortcuts, okay? So with Advanced Themer, you just have to create a section, already contain a container, and we are going probably to add a heading, a div with 2 buttons, a video, and a div with these boxes, right? So simply you can just add your heading. By the way, in the coming feature, the coming release, we have a new option, a shortcut here option, where you can personalize the shortcut that are in this menu. You can reorder them. You can add the other one from bricks and create your own shortcut bar, right? But I'm going to use the standard one for now, just not to get things too much complicated. And I'm going to create a block. In this block, I will add 2 buttons, all right? And after this block, I'm probably going to add another block.
I'm just going to point out here how awesome it is to be able to use keyboard shortcuts for that. Like you could have just pressed S and then click on the container and press H and B and then 2 times U, and that's it.
Yeah, but you enable this keyboard shortcut, and when you click Shift, you have these shortcuts here that show up on the top of each shortcut. And if I now press D, for example, now my div is showing inside the structure. So you can insert any element using the shortcut.
Yeah, just by pressing the letter D.
Okay. So now I'm going to insert a video. Maybe I don't have a video in my structure, but I can use another function from AT instead of going back here and search, click here, click video, and add the video. Okay, there is a faster way in Advanced Themer where you can just do Command F. There is a quick search bar that's showing up, and I'm going to say video, and my video is here. Click, and my video is added to the structure panel. So we have here a little quick search function where you can add global classes, variables, add elements, search for elements in your structure. It's a complex feature. I don't have, of course, time to review everything, but this is another shortcut to create faster elements inside your structure. And when I've done the video, we have this section. Just going to create another block, and this will be a block a container, right? And inside I'm going to put another block with probably an SVG, right? It's probably an SVG. So let's say SVG and the texts, right? Okay, and this will be duplicated 4 times, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, but this is probably, let's get rid of the search function. This is probably the HTML structure of this section, right? Now you have several options in Advanced Themer. Advanced Themer doesn't force you to use a specific workflow. Okay, it gives you a lot of options. Okay, you can choose the workflow that suits more to your needs. And so basically, for example, you can decide now to create all the classes on this component. Let's consider it a component, right? Or you can just start styling on the ID level and convert your styles into classes on a later stage. But for now, just not to complicate everything, I'm going to consider to style on the ID level. I'm going to talk about the class converter later. Okay, so let's click on our heading, and you see there is another function from Advanced Themer 2. Actually, we have here the left sidebar where you can jump really quickly on all the style, all these drop downs. Okay, you don't have to each time click on style, click on here, but you have this shortcut on the left just to be quicker. And in the content, you see that we have an advanced wrapper here where you can wrap your text really easily, since without writing manually the span. You can add classes. Okay, not going too deep because we are here for 2 hours, but I'm just going to copy here the text and replace. Okay, I'm going to change. This will be our H1, so I can change it inside the element panel, but I can also change it directly in the structure and set it to H1, okay? And it reflects inside here. So you can have an overview of all your tags, your HTML tags inside the structure just by looking at the structure, okay? This is not available in Bricks natively.
While you're in the structure panel, I think there's 1 or 2 clashes with keyboard shortcuts that I'm wondering if they have been fixed. And one thing has been pointed out by Dave Den in the comments. He says one slight issue if you try to rename block by double clicking the element's name and pressing shift and left arrow, it moves the element instead of highlighting it. That's one. And I believe there was, but I might be wrong. I think I had something where when I press Control F, it opens your search feature. And then I think it's Control Shift F for the bricks feature to look for shit in the left panel. But I might be mistaken about that. I know there was something that kind of threw me off track there.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know about these errors. So the best
Yeah,
thing to do is
report bugs.
to send the bug reports,
Yep.
because otherwise I'm completely overwhelmed with requests. And yeah, if you have some clashes or thing like that, usually the bugs get solved in the next release. So
It's probably solved by the end of this
yeah, yeah,
stream.
of course. But yeah. So so what we can do now is to apply the variable that we created before to this heading, right? So we can go in typography, in font size. You see that now there's a Vue icon here, but it also works with a right click. If you click on it, you have access to the variable picker, where you see that you see our categories that we created earlier, and you can choose from these values that we imported before. Okay, and if you hover, you have how to say, a preview of the values. But for example, in this case, the step 5 is probably not big enough. I'm going to create a new one. So add a new global variable, and I'm going to call it step 6. And you see it open directly step 6 here. And I'm going to create a clam function. So maybe, I don't know how much it is, but let's say it is 36 and 48. I'm not sure if it works correctly, but okay, let's get it. Okay, we will say it's okay, or let's change it back to sorry. Let's make it bigger. Let's say 64, 72. 72 is okay. Okay, let's keep it that way. And this is the way to assign variables. You just, by the way, you can define the one that you want open by default. So let's say we want the space and the typography open by default. So if I reopen my variable picker, we will see all the variables listed here. Okay. And now you see that the step 6 is enabled, is highlighted, because it's right now it's selected. And this is the way you define variables to each element, right? Let's go ahead and create for now the blocks. Okay. Of course, I didn't set a theme style. Okay, I should have to. I'm not sure if you are going to spend too much time if I'm going to set the theme style. Sorry for that, but let's go ahead and see where we go. Okay, so this one will probably be a flex row, right? And it's probably going to be centered and with a gap. So column gap we can open our CSS variable and change the gap that we want. Okay, let's go back here and see this gap. So we are going to change these buttons. Okay, so we can probably use a size from bricks for now. What is it? Try new version. So we can go here and try new version. Okay, and we are going to set our background color. This is a new feature from 2.10. It doesn't exist yet. You guys see it for the first time, but there is a color picker right now. So we create the colors, right, in the global color manager. And now we have an easy color picker to select the primary or any of the shades. And you see, as I over any shade, there is a preview inside the preview window. So let's just select the primary and select here. Let's create in our color manager a white color, right?
So you're using a beta version of AT on this, huh?
Yeah, it's risky,
There we
right?
go.
I'm taking some risk here,
Yeah.
but you don't live without
Actually,
risk.
pretty stable. I've been using it on 3 builds.
Yeah. So now that I created this white color, I can assign Normally, I guess it's here. Okay, my white color to the bottom. Okay, and let's create another category. Let's make it full screen, and let's say border. Oops, border radius. Right. Let's create our first border radius. Let's say buttons. Radius buttons. Something like this. And we create a clamp and we'll say 10, 20 maybe, maybe more, no? I don't know, 20, 40 maybe. Okay, so I can apply this border. Let me go in border, border here, and I can now set my border radius here. Okay, and no, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to make it everywhere. Okay. And we need maybe some padding here, so I can also use the variable here. Let's say, I don't know, space L maybe. Okay, and we are going to make it linked, but not here and not here. Okay, it looks decent, more or less.
Maxime, your ClickUp is yelling at you, bro.
Sorry?
Your ClickUp app is yelling at you. It's crying on
Oh,
your dog.
yeah.
It's just
Someone
distracting.
someone wants new features added.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't look at my
Sorry to slow you
bottom
down. All right,
line.
so you were saying.
No, it's there. There is no. I don't use ClickUp a lot, so it's just
Okay.
historic notices.
No worries.
And let's maybe do the same thing. Okay, I'm going to delete this and just duplicate and remove. You see that on the left side, I have an indicator where the styles are applied. Okay, this doesn't exist in bricks, so it's really useful because I just know that on the background here I have a background active, so I can just remove it, right? And say same thing for the color, and I can actually set another one. So let's see this color. Which one is it? Which one is it? Okay, 225, 227, 232. 22, no, sorry, 225, 227, 232. Let's say, sorry, color manager, let's say light gray. Okay, and I'm going to set it to 225, 227, 232. Is it correct? Maybe. We will see. Now my light gray is, by the way, you see that there is a little icon on the global colors. If I hover on it, it shows that it's active on the page. So one advantage also of the global color is you can see which color are used inside the page and can easily find which element use which color, okay, which can be in some occasion a really time saver. Okay, little things like this. Okay, let's go back in the background and set the background to our light gray. And why it's important to set a variable to each of our elements? It's mainly it's really an advantage when you are going to create a website with dark mode. Okay, so if you set only a static value like an X value or an RGB value, it will be pretty hard to change this value when you switch from a dark color, a dark mode to a light mode. But by setting everything as a variable, you see that it's really easy to switch colors from dark to light. So maybe I can show this later, but we'll see if there is enough time. And here as the color, we can put probably this blue right here. Let's go into styles because I want to put some font weight on the bottom. Okay, let's create my theme. Okay, my theme. And let's go into button and typography, and let's add some weight here.
Oh, Kevin alert. Kevin's watching.
feel like this will be good.
Don't let him down.
Yeah, Maxime.
He had to troll. He had to troll. But Kevin, it will be a lot faster if you use Advanced Themer in your builds. That is the truth. Okay, so and we are here, so we can. By the way, I just just before I inspected the website, and the box shadow that you see on the video, it's actually an image. So I was quite
Oh, for
surprised
shame.
by this.
Come on now.
So if you open where it is, okay, open a new tab. You see that this is the box shadow around the image now. So basically, it's harder for me to understand how they are going to apply this image behind the video compared to creating a box shadow from CSS, right? So I'm going to skip the box shadow all over and show you a function from Advanced Themer. So let's create this video. There is a padding. So a bit of padding. Let's add, I don't know, M maybe. Okay. Linked. There is also a radius. Let's see if our border radius from before is working correctly. Okay, I don't know why it closed. I need to check that. Okay, and here it needs to be. Yeah, you don't see it right now because it's a white background, but basically on this section there is a line gradient. Yeah, and let's take it so we see this padding where it is. So I'm not on the correct section. Okay, let's go here. And where is it? It's on top. Yeah, for me it's really hard to read Tailwind utility classes. For me it's a big confusion, but I'm going to find it. If you have like an hour or yeah, it could be hidden background.
I'm thinking if we take another 5-ish minutes and then kind of bring Dave back in,
Yeah,
it'll
absolutely.
probably work.
And I'm cracking my knuckles so many times I can't crack them anymore. I'm ready to
Sorry?
do this. I can't crack my knuckles anymore. I'm just like, come on.
Also, there's a couple of questions from a gentleman here named Kevin Geary.
Okay, let's make it just by and we do a root and we say background image and
What's up with the box shadow? Why would you make an image for the shadow? Is that like a corporate thing? They're like, we need our proprietary shadow on this video. Like, come on.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
They're using like Next.js too. Like they're not amateurs.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
Tailwind's
got the shadow utility, but I guess they needed it to be like all around it, and they didn't like the Tailwind shadows. The light comes from above, so they wanted it to be like poof. I thought it was a background gradient on the whole thing, but I'll take a crack at it.
Probably my background. Let's see, is it showing? Okay, it's showing, but it's like it will be complicated, but it will be probably 25%, and here it will be 75%. Oops, and here it. I'm just guessing, guys, but
That's right. Close enough. One thing that's sticking out to me that, I mean, I use bricks every day, of course, but I'm like, wow, there's so many different panels. And I'm thinking about what Dave was showing at the beginning, where it's, you got everything right in front of you. And that's not the philosophy of bricks here.
Somebody mentioned that in the chat as well.
Sorry?
Oh, I'm just commenting on so many different panels in bricks that you have to open up.
Yeah.
I
It's
find it
like it's
funny,
like
like
yeah, go ahead.
at least for myself, and I believe that a lot of people have the same experience. Like the more you use bricks, with or without AT, um, at first I was so excited about having all these CSS features just exposed to me in the actual GUI. Like I can set my Z index and my overflow and all that stuff. And then today I just went back to writing the CSS because I'm like I have no patience for finding the fucking overflow
That's it. That's the
control.
deal.
So I
Yeah.
just write it in the CSS box and that's it.
Yeah. And also, like, if they design a panel and they make a mistake, you can't really like backtrack it because then thousands of people have that
Yeah.
like in their muscle memory. One thing that I remember first opening up with bricks, I'm not trying to like throw shade or anything, but like I thought flex controls, like, justify content, align items stuff, were under the content tab instead of the style tab. And I was like, well, that seems like obvious
It
if
They
they
de-
want
are.
to
it
do the
depends on
styles.
the element. It depends on the element. If it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a
And I'm just like, so
div
Yeah.
that's
here,
what the opinion of, whoever makes bricks, like
yeah.
to just put that in a place. And it's like, once it's there, like people are expecting it to be there. And so like that abstraction kind of bothered me. I'm just like, well, who am I to tell somebody where their settings need to go? But in order to know code, you got to put it in something. And then you have to just find every conceivable CSS property and like put it somewhere, or just not let people adjust those with your interface, which is like, which cuts off a lot of like possibilities. I'm guessing
Mhm.
it doesn't have like text decoration underline color as like an option for something, but that's
Actually,
something.
they are.
Or does it? Okay, so you have to. I wouldn't know where to look for that, but maybe everything is there. I don't know. I think there's like 200 CSS properties or something like that. So that's
So
a lot
I'm
to know.
always looking for more controls to add, but actually most of the one you used on the build are included in bricks. So new properties, the new ones that are released like a year ago or something are maybe not integrated in bricks yet, but I mean most of them are available in the builder.
And it has like a search where you can kind of like search for a property, right?
Yeah,
And
you have a
search
Yeah.
the
search
UI.
setting
Yeah.
here. So
Yeah.
if you do typography, you will have the typography fields
Cool. All right.
or padding, and you have the padding here.
All right.
And by the way, there is a function in Advanced Themer. If you right click here, you open the contextual menu. There is a style overview where you can see all the styles that are applied on this element and on each breakpoint. So, for example, if you want to change here in Advanced Themer the color of the background of this button, okay, and say red on the tablets. And if I go here, I should see this one red, but which one is it? Okay, wait, but it doesn't make sense because I don't have a background, maybe. Okay, yeah, red doesn't work. It has to be an X. But anyway, yeah, and basically you can overview all the styles that you apply on an element, and you have an overview on all the breakpoints, on all the media queries, and you can change them from one location. So this useful where when you are lost and you don't find a style applied to an element where it comes from, and you have all listed here on the ID level, but also on the class level. And you can, by the way, search here. So if I do background, you see all the background values from the style overview model. Okay. Should I stop here and should we go to Dave?
Yes.
I'm ready.
That makes perfect sense. I was about to say that. I think this is a good point to stop. I'm going to go through the comments that I have starred. Let's see. Bum, 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 bum.
I saw
Dave, if you
one
want
pop
to,
up from Toby, Mr. Salami.
Yes.
Dave, if you
It
want to
said like
reshare your screen to the
yeah,
bottom. Sorry.
if I can build an interface where a person can switch between writing code and using an interface, then all worlds will have been satisfied. So that's the idea: is to allow coding, and then to build the abstractions on top of that truth, so it can make it easier to code, and also can provide somewhat of a lens for non-coders to edit some of the things that are in that code, but not all of it. Okay, can I just, I'm just going to just bang this thing out here.
Let's do
The
it.
same thing he was building, okay? Now, one
Meanwhile,
thing I want to let you know is that I am going to be using some like Emmet shortcuts. Emmet is like a text expander for code editors. And so this is going to ship with some of those, and they're just kind of in my wheelhouse. They will be documented on how they work, but I'll explain them as I summon them. And then also, like, there is a design system behind this that controls things like color, palettes, typography, spacing, and button styles. I actually have a button system. So because all of those things like require a whole lot of like buttons have tons of different styles. I think my man Kevin would speak to this. He wrote a whole post about it, and I think it's all up in his framework. So I might leverage some of that as I go. But right now, I'm just going to try to build this now that I've set the stage with what Aviator is, like how I would build it and how I would teach somebody to be able to do it. Okay, you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
yes.
Okay, we're going to pull up a blank module, and I'm just going to say, like, this is one of those shortcuts, like banner. So if I say like banner XL, I get that. If I say banner XLC and hit tab, I get that. And I can change the size of it like 10 XLC and get that. That's probably somewhat of a start, but I also have other ones called like text image banners. So I can like start with like completed code that's kind of just common fair elements. And this is somewhat like close to what we're going to be doing here. So I don't have to type all this stuff out.
This is sort of an equivalent to just dragging and dropping something from the Beaver Builder shelf into the
And I also have
canvas.
some of these things saved as components, but you can also like do that with the Emmet. I that's how I kind of build the components. But let's go even further back and just say outer. This is going to give us two containers that are, one of which is a HTML element, the other one is a custom element that will just give us a like padded container within which to work. These are the child of a section is called a subsection. Here you can call it whatever you want. You can name elements. It's not necessarily valid, but it does display. I'm coloring outside of the lines. And then I like to put things called items in here that represent like the items that go inside. So that's an item. We can see that it's padded properly and that we have like, we can put our stuff in here.
So this RR that you did that earlier as well. If I understand correctly, that's sort of just a border test, right?
Yeah, it's like a helpful little thing that just shows me like what is this in here, so it can create a connection. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a heading of a large size, and we're just going to say like, H10XL, and that'll give us this. I want to align these items to the center, and I want to text align them to the center like that. Now, if I wanted to make this larger, I could. I think this is a pretty healthy size. Theirs is a little bit bigger, so I can just select this and bump it up. Let's just go here. Okay. There's no paragraph describing what this is, and I wish there was, because I'm not really sure what Craft is. Like they could stand to say like it is a note-taking app. I'm like, are you writing support documentation, or are you just writing like, is this a Basecamp or something like that? But no matter. Okay. So this item is sitting inside of this subsection, which is sitting inside of this section. You can see green, blue, red. Okay. So I'm going to undo. Now I can make a little button group, and I like to use a container for that, like a sub item. And some of these ship with like immediate, like I like to flex as much as I can. This is going to be a flex direction column by default, but we're going to want them to be a row. So we just change that to row, and we're going to make two buttons, button times 2. And let's clean up our HTML here. Go to try new version and learn more. So I'll say try new version and learn more. Now some of these, I'm not going to use my, well, maybe I can use my button classes here. Let's try button 4th primary and button 4th secondary. So I have a couple of buttons. Normally, I might adjust the border radius on my buttons globally with my CSS property, but right now I can just do it in line just to save time. And I can just say border radius 999 pixels, and we have pills. So now I know that their parent, this sub item, needs to flex, justify center. So if I just say justify I can type out justify content center, or I also have some shortcuts like where I'm using like Tailwind abbreviations to hit tab here, and then they go here. I add a little gap of 1 rem, and I'm on my way. It looks like there's a little bit more space above these than the bottom margin of the heading will permit. So I just say like margin top, like 1 rem, 1 rem. That looks good. Need to fix that error there. There's about a 1 rem of space between there. And so maybe I make like the font weight. Again, this is probably something I would do globally, but you can just make this more. All right. And let's craft the best docs in the world.
And any plans to add like autocomplete CSS?
Like where it would kind of find your utility.
Like if you start like GA and it knows you probably want gap.
Yeah, that's something. This is CodeMirror. Something like another editor that's like CodeMirror called Monaco, which is what VS Code uses, can do that kind of stuff. But I do have plans to like have assistive like tooltips or something like that, so you can autocomplete. You got to kind of take the trade-offs. CodeMirror exposes so much other important stuff, like being able to do this, and like the way that it kind of assigns like attributes to what it outputs. It's like worth it not to have that, but totally able to do it. And now that we have Claude in our lives, I can just kind of ask, So I don't like how this is breaking. It has kind of like 2 orphans here. So I'm just going to do a little text wrap balance to make sure that it like balances out properly. And it looks like this is kind of like a navy blue. One thing that I do also have is a color palette here. So if I say like color, I can make it just blue, but I can also use my accent palette, and I can find the right like kind of dark blue up there. That's probably about right. And I'm just going to be building this on like the laptop size. So try new version, learn more. These buttons probably need a little bit more padding on the sides, so I can just jump right in. It also doesn't really matter. I have class sorting going on, so I can like punch these in wherever I want them to be. If I say like PX, 1 rem, important, and I dial that up like 2, 3, maybe it's 1.5 or something like that. That seems about right. And I'm happy with this for right now. So what I want to do is fold this item in so I can get all that crap out of my way. And I want to put kind of like a 16:9 container here that will hold the video. So I can just say like another item, and I want to say, div aspect ratio 16:9, and let's say background a 600 for my accent palette, width 100%, and we get that. So immediately I know that I want to like round my corners. I was going to type out border radius completely, but I actually have a shortcut. It's Brad. I don't know. And I can just say brad if I want to. Brad is the border radius king. But this will work too, just so you don't have to parse that out.
Claude, Brad, we got all kinds of
Yeah. Brad's a bro. So now I have 2 items in this subsection, and I can actually also use another helper utility here called border children. So I can see what the children are of those, and this will help me to see how much of a gap I need to add. So maybe I use like one of my global spacing variables, or if that's too much, I can actually do math on the variable. So I can divide it by 2, and that seems like a good amount of spacing to have between these guys. It's like a centimeter. Okay, so let's take that BC off, and let's just quickly see how this feels.
I'm going to bring up a question here that Toby has.
Yep.
He says, my question for Dave still remains, how is this scalable? If you have to change your structure in multiple places, can you change it from one place like it's done with components, or one by one?
Yes. So like there's a whole templating system in the backend that I'm not using. I'm just kind of building a static page. But the idea is for you to be able to make what's called a part, which is a structure. Like let's say we wanted this on the top of every page. We could have this structure comprise that part and then hydrate it with custom fields. And I'll show you this in a sec. So let me just keep speed building something under here, and I'll throw, actually, maybe we can even throw the video right in there. It might get a little distracting though, and might eat up resources for me to autoplay it, but rest assured, you can just ask AI or something like, which I just did while Maxime was working, for a snippet for an auto-playing muted HTML video. And I also have my media library here. So I can just like, I don't have to go look for a video block or anything like that. I can just punch that in, go get the path, copy it, punch that in here, and I should see it. Okay. And so now we also want to make sure that this is like overflow hidden. So the border radius will work on the video. Okay. Let's move on. Is that cool? Can I move on to this this part down here? We happy? Or do we need to add that box shadow? Okay. Or maybe I'll also add like a box shadow to this container. And let me hit Command S to clean things up. And if I wanted like there to be a, box shadow like 001 rem black or something like that, you can see there's a box shadow there. And maybe I even instead of this use like a color from my palettes, whatever, maybe it glows, something like that. Or maybe my primary one is better, and maybe I bump the two up a little bit so it gets a little bit shadowier. That's a little bit too much, isn't it? Anyway, that's an option. So let me go down to below. I'm going to make these in a new node. But I know that like they might have to sit in the same general like subsection or container as these because of this, because they're all kind of inside of the same thing. But I want to simplify this and not like overwhelm anybody with like 30 lines of code of something that we're not currently working on. So I'm just going to open up this, go to my blank section and pull one in below. I can drop it in here, or I can drop it in my like little table of contents there. And then if I write, you can see that things are coming up here and things are coming up here. So here's another like kind of shortcut. It's called a multiple, and it's just a trigger with the word M, or sorry, the letter M, and I say MXL or something like that. And it'll draw out a kind of a simple multiple for me. And what I have is like my basic outer that just sets the stage here. And then this item is displaying as a 2-column grid. You can see it's displaying as grid, 2 columns with a gap, and it's going full. So this is where I want my guys to sit. Now I'm going to show you something that I invented for, I guess, for HTML, which is a templating tag. Not the template tag, but something that will tell this editor to do something special with what resides between the tags. So let's fold these guys. I can just click and hold on their tag to fold them, which is a lot easier than finding this little arrow. I'm going to just delete them. I'm going to do this. What this is the Aviator template tag. And it says essentially, whatever is inside of here, repeat it this many times. So let's type the word hello. See that? So whatever gets put inside of here, I am a paragraph. See that? So we can do like mock-ups very quickly and understand that what resides between these tags is going to get kind of repeated out. So now I automatically know that my grid needs to be a 4-column grid. If I say something like, give this guy a border, or actually, let's just go faster. We're going to have an SVG icon and a paragraph. So I'll say like, built for Mac and iOS. Punch that in. Let's say, I think this is probably going to be like, say, a 2-column grid on medium screens, and I'm guessing, yeah, 2, 2, 2, then 4 maybe on tablet portrait. So let's do grid calls 2, and then medium grid calls 4. And note that I'm not going to any settings panels. I'm not bouncing around to panels. This is all happening in here. And so I'm going to change this repeat to 4. I'm going to align the text to center. I'm going to make this actually a headline instead. Oops, type.
Just a quick interjection. Mark is bouncing. So thanks, Mark. He's already gone, but he'll hear us thanking him when he rewatches the next 4 hours. So,
Word.
Yep.
Let's grab an SVG.
hi, Mark.
Gonna go ahead and pull that open. And I can just copy this straight up if it will let me copy. Punch that in. Whoa. Okay. So we want to actually make this a sub item. That's a huge SVG. Okay. Maybe we just do something instead. Let's make a field. Fields are for when you want to like register large swaths of code or just kind of like cordon out pieces of code in your layout, and then you can hydrate them in. So if I take this giant SVG that I just copied, which I just lost the copy, sorry. I can punch it over here. I can copy the name and I can just put it right in there. Now I want to align these to the center. And let's save to just clean this up. Looks like this text was a little funky. We're making pretty good progress here. There's a little bit too much space here. These guys might need to come in a little bit. And obviously these will all need to be different, but right now I'm templating. So I'm just getting like the bones of this ready. And eventually I will remove the template tag and I can make 4 copies of this sub item. So one thing that I would like to do is just make this have a max width. Max width doc is like a 1280 by default. It's kind of like the content window in which all your stuff sits. But if I want to make that less, like multiply it by 0.75 or something like that, and we can, let's see, align items or justify. What do I want to do here? Do I want to do MX Auto? Yeah. So that'll kind of bring it in. So it's not like spread to the edges as they do. And I can remove this. I can see that there's like an inch of padding here and an inch of padding here. Normally in these situations, I like to take the padding off of the top one just in case I need to like named anchor a link to this section. So I'm just gonna double click and change the padding Y to padding top. And so now I can kind of go back here and take a look. I mean, we got 16 lines of code here plus a couple spaces. So it's not insane, but this giant SVG took up a ton of space that I didn't want to have cluttering my HTML. And you can do that with anything. I mean, I can do that with the message. Like this, message built for Mac and iOS. Copy that in.
So are the fields global?
Punch it in here. No, they are local. And that's a good question. So fields are usually historically, like ACF fields are either global or they're attached to a post.
Mm-hmm.
This is attached to the node. So what happens is like when I make changes to the editor or I make changes to a field, a process runs that hydrates these in with this kind of double mustache syntax so that you can selectively work on pieces of an otherwise super complex string of markup and just give yourself some sanity. Additionally, because there's a different lens here, this offers, you could set like a user role on WordPress that's like no coding admin or something like that. Add that class to the dashboard here, and then just hide the HTML editor from no coding admins so that all that they could see, I mean, you might hide code fields too, so they don't have to look at this, but they would just see this. And then they can easily make changes to this, and those changes will go right in.
So there's a follow-up question. Do the fields get stored as meta fields in the database?
The fields currently, that's a really good question. The fields currently get stored along with the node. So every node in the install sits in a nodes table. Right now, they are stored their like signature is JSON in that nodes table. However, storing them in their own fields table would allow them to be hoisted out of the builder entirely. And you could probably imagine like an admin screen back here somewhere where you could show all of the kind of client editable fields in one big like bird's eye view of the site's content, or just a bunch of text areas or whatever, so that if somebody wanted to just go in, they didn't want to dick around with the DX or the dynamics of a builder, but they just want to change their tagline, they could just go to that screen, Command F for what it says, change it, save it, and that would just go right into the database, and then that would go right into here, and then this would go right into here. So it's like building these, that's an abstraction path that is like making code editable by non-coders in a way where you're kind of extracting this text node out or extracting this SVG icon out. I mean, this doesn't have to be expressed in code. I could add images and stuff too. So right now, another thing I was kind of proud of here is that this is like Brix's structure panel. It's actually called structure panel, but it's an iframe. So it is rendering exactly what is in here, but these sections are draggable if I wanted to reorder them. And then you can kind of, you don't have to parse out what you named it or what it's called or what its like element type is. You can just rearrange your layout from a bird's eye view. I mean, technically I should probably limit how wide this can go, but that's something that where you can kind of see your whole site as you're building individual parts. So I still think that this needs to be like the padding up above and below needs to be adjusted. So I might just go back into this HTML and I can go to my section constant, which is kind of like an inch on large screens, and I just can cut it in half. And that seems like it's a little bit more. And so I've written like 0 custom CSS here. It's all in here. And so I could just give this to you and you could have this part. Like you could have this done, and this kind of represents what, a half an hour of work.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So here's how it looks on mobile. It's looking pretty good. I might not do such a rounded border radius on mobile. And if I wanted to change that, I don't have to go into some panel. I just go to the video and I say the border radius is 1 rem. So maybe I want that to be on medium screens only. And I want on, small screens for the border radius to be 0.5 rem or something like that. And there it is. So you're able to do responsive design like very quickly, and everything is just there. Maybe I would tighten the gap here or something like that. There's a lot of other little things I could do, like this gap might be able to come down and so on. So we save. We can actually preview it just like Brix does, new window. I was thinking, I don't use Brix, but I know that there's like a button where you can kind of like hit an eye icon that allows you to kind of see it.
Yeah, but basically the preview, the Brix preview is sort of, it just removes the whole builder UI and it's like instant, which is pretty cool.
But I'm holding off on that, I think, because I can still see it here. I can see it here. Like I get the picture. For sure. And
it's a quality of life thing that you can still consider.
Yeah, if I need to see the desktop view or the mobile view, it's pretty simple for me to do that.
So we have a little bit of feedback from the chat. Toby says Dave clearly knows his tool. I love that. And so we have a note from Kevin here. What I like about Dave is that he's brilliant and has great ideas, but readily admits he's coloring outside the lines with this stuff. But this type of exploration is really valuable. So
Thanks.
I figured I'd share that. It's nice to know.
Props are good.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead. You can
I want to ask Maxime, or perhaps get into a dialogue here a little bit. So we've now looked at 2 very different workflows. What are your takeaways from what you've seen from each other so far? Like what's your state of mind?
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay.
Yes,
so like, what do I think about his approach?
Yeah, exactly.
Or what do I think about like the page builder approach? Like, this is not. I think the whole point of this show is to like calm some of the instincts that we have around our tooling. Is in that it's
exactly
to be tribal about it, or to be like my way is better, your way is better. Because I am very well aware that my way is like it's like when you watch a professional using their tool, they look great at it. Like, and this goes for anything. You watch Gordon Ramsay cooking an omelet, like, that looks really easy, and then you go home and you fuck it up. So like what I saw was that there was a lot of configuration, and like Brendan said, there was a lot of like panels and settings and things that we all know as users of these frameworks and have committed to our memory. As a UXer initially, like I pride myself on being able to step into somebody's shoes and go like, would they know where to go find that? Or even like what that, like whether or not to clamp the font size of their heading and why? And is that expertise something that can be baked into a system of componentry so that it's there for them to leverage, but they don't necessarily have to see it, but they can if they want to discover. So there's like these different kind of capability layers or capability like tiers of user. And so right now I have to start at the bottom. I have to start like writing these websites in the same language and the same mental model that they are going to be parsed by a browser, because that is the real truth. Every page builder does the same thing. Every framework does the same thing. They all just barf out HTML for a browser to load so an experience can happen and a conversion can take place and value can be exchanged. So in this case, I start to think about like, I was a little bit, I don't use Brick, so I didn't know what to look for or what kinds of, what was going on in terms of creating variables. And, but I'm also very familiar with why I left the page building orthodoxy in the first place with Beaver Builder, because they do the same thing. There's just like a system, a series of settings that you have to kind of know in addition to having front-end expertise in general. And so I felt like I did move fast, but when I was writing every property, you were able to kind of see that. And I think that what's important is that it wasn't cached in a UI layer at all. You could Google a CSS property and what values it can have. Then you can go into this and just type those two things separated by a colon with underscores for spaces, and it will do what you ask it to do. So having that, I think, is worth giving code another look. And my whole like uphill battle with this, I think, is going to be convincing people that it actually might be more difficult to navigate dozens of settings rather than learn like one fundamental truth, is that like the class attribute of HTML elements can do.
That's right.
Can make things look like they want them to look.
Your workflow brings us much closer to what actually writing code is. I mean, it reminds me of before I used Beaver Builder, I was using a theme called Atahualpa. If anybody remembers that, it was really, really popular up until like 2014, or that was like the apex of its popularity. And it was basically, I kind of just disabled the theme. Like it had 200 options, and then it had a huge field where you could type CSS. And I just tweaked the hell out of the theme, and then I wrote tons and tons of CSS. And then I went into TinyMCE. I installed a plugin that disabled the visual part of TinyMCE, and then I just typed HTML into the text field of TinyMCE, and that's kind of how I built websites for a while there. So it feels like sort of returning to that, just on steroids. It's a very pure approach. But then it also feels like
comparing TinyMCE with Code Mirror is like an insult. So,
oh yeah, I'm sure. Just saying, like, I kind of did the
important.
the infant's version of what you're doing. Yeah.
One thing I want to add before I let Maxime talk was like, there was a comment that like this is opening a lot of doors, but it's also closing a lot of doors. The Aviator stuff, and I agree. But if you think about other industries that are like boutique industries, like I don't know, I want to make the Michelin star restaurant, of IDEs. People might come in there and be like, all right, I'll take an extra value meal, please. And they would be like, get out of here. Like, we don't do that. We serve like top of the line stuff. Knives in the kitchen cost, $1,000 a piece. Like, this is a boutique thing. And there are more people, McDonald's and Subway are like more successful than like the Michelin star winning restaurant, but they just have a different offering. And so like I'm cutting with the sharpest knives and trying to prepare like these things in a way that like is, as I build it, it looks like more involved, but it's built. Like I want to be able to make good offer that you have of you.
It gets tricky to
are
understand you at this
like
point,
you
Dave.
can just take it.
It feels like your connection is sort of dipping there a little bit.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah, like
I was just saying, like,
a little blurry too.
Huh,
Perhaps disable
Maybe
your
that
webcam,
works.
see if that helps.
Any better?
I don't know yet.
Yeah, we can hear you now. It might have just been a
Okay, maybe just a random internet blur.
Might have just been a hiccup, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just curious, still about like also your reaction, Maxime, to seeing this different way of building. I feel like we're all in our own mindsets and our own workflows, and we use the tools we use. But I see a lot of validity to everything we've seen on Bridge Builders so far. Really, would you say it leaves you impressed right now, or okay, Dave?
Yeah. So my impression is Dave and I are taking two different opposed directions. So the fun that I get in building advanced themer, and my goal is to transform code into a no-code solution. So I hadn't time to show the. I wish I would show the class converter, the grid builder. There are a lot of functions at the themer, but basically what I'm focused on is to transform what you usually would do with code, okay, to create an interface to do the same thing with drag and drop and no code solution, okay. And my impression is Dave is taking the exact opposite path, is to instead of playing with controls with Windows pop-ups, drop downs, and he goes to the point, and it's a solution more focused on people used to work with VS Code or code editors in general, and are pretty have a good knowledge of HTML, a style environment, and used to these things. So the public is totally different. The public is for sure a public more for developers, more for people, for professionals. Okay, and my goal is to my public, I think, are professionals, are people that know what they are doing, but they are looking for easy interface to make it work quickly and on the fly. Okay, without get their hands too much dirty with code, which is true and not true, because in advanced themer you can leverage the no code functions, so like the grid builder, etc. But you can also go deep, and I hadn't really the occasion to show it, to go deep on the code too. So advanced CSS, which I mentioned earlier, is a big feature in advanced themer. It's all about managing custom CSS and go deep in the SAS integration and passing on the fly SCSS into CSS into the builder. So, I mean, it's also I'm also looking for people that know what they're doing and are not worried about get their hand dirty with code. Okay, I think this public is also a part of my target. But I mean, it will be it for sure will be hard for Dave to convert people from the no code education, the no code philosophy, to go into this kind of builder mentality. But I don't think it is his target.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Probably,
true.
Dave, you have to tell me if you are targeting newbies. I don't think so.
Well, I not right now. And what you're seeing is me building these components from the ground up. Just like a page builder developer would build blocks or modules from the ground up. Their work, and the complexity has to live somewhere, their work is complex. And they are putting together a surface for non-coders to feel comfortable with, and a model of like, this is a heading, this is a button, this is a container, to orient themselves around.
Mm.
Now, I am not directly pursuing developers, even though I am, as far as like inviting them to build with this and build a system for their non-coding collaborators, because it's not one or the other. And we think about these things in terms of one or the other, but once you have that base of code that's always accessible to the dev on the team, that dev can use these tools to build layers of UI on top. I haven't built them all yet. You saw that with the fields a little bit, what I was saying about the user role that can only see a part of it. But like the only things that non-coding tools can let you edit, they're doing the same thing. They're giving you a text input to edit text. They're giving you drop downs to send a value to something. Like, there is a way to build on top of that. It's just that like other builders, I think, went right to that instead of like, I want to make coding easier for people, but I also want to make sure that I have those same paths built upon this completely expressive and flexible base, so that like I just find a way like to create a view of some sort that feels like a no code application to a no coder, but that if the dev is logged in, they can pop the hood and they can fix the engine. It's kind of like cooking is always the metaphor that I use with this. It's like you can teach them. Somebody might be like, I'm not a cook. You might have a friend, maybe you're something like that, where you're like, I can't even make spaghetti, or I can't even toast or something like that. I have a fondness for cooking. I blame it on being, in my 40s, and I start to buy like really good Parmesan and like, crush my garlic instead of like, using garlic powder or whatever. So taking a cooking class is something that people are willing to do to level up their cooking. Maybe they want to sear a nice ribeye with the crust and the butter like sizzling on it in a cast iron skillet. And so what I feel like page builders are doing are going like, they're selling us like microwaves. It's like, here you go. You can microwave that steak for 10 minutes and it's edible. It's not going to be like Michelin star, but it works so that you don't have to burn your hand on a pan.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the cooking class might teach them some basic principles about how to be responsible, how to like work with temperature and not burn your butter and put the garlic and the thyme in at the end of it or whatever. And that like 90 minutes can change their steaks forever. Where otherwise they're just looking for better and better microwaves to microwave that steak. And it's just and everybody's just kind of like, oh, this microwave is great. It's going to slow cook it and blah, blah, blah. And then it just comes out like, eh. And this is like this interference between, or that these abstraction layers, I feel like is why, sorry to say it, like most sites built with no code tools don't look good, especially if they were built from the ground up. They just they have this like kind of air of mid or like mediocrity to them. You can just tell the difference. This site is not like that, because you can see it was built by developers and probably designed by designers. And I have some qualms with it as a type nerd and as a UX guy, but otherwise it's like, it's something that we found because it was probably in like a gallery. It's not shit, but some like, mom and pop built with Beaver Builders is very rarely going to look like award worthy or showcase worthy.
Hmm.
So like, yeah. So my
I'm
goal is to like, is to get to build something where people can have the showcase worthy shell, learn to fill it in instead of having to learn to build it up themselves. So they're actually buying like the steak that's already been sous vide, and they just got to learn how to sear it, and then they have a wonderful dinner for their girlfriend, if that makes sense.
Now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm hungry, getting hungry too.
That's a good analogy, because like a lot of this is just you need to give people confidence really
Right.
to really get in there, and so a lot of like that's why we're showing this. So
You're saying something that's been said in the chat as well. So Toby said Maxime is making life faster and easier. Dave is making life for coders faster and easier and doing the same thing differently. But then he also says Dave may be able to convert them because earlier I asked, or I think Maxime brought it up that, are you going to convert people to your workflow? And he said you may be able to convert them with very good educational videos. And he followed up with educational videos that are simple and clear will completely spin people into his world. This is true of any product, no matter the niche. And I'm going to second that. I think Webflow is proving that with their videos, and Kevin is proving that with his 101s for ACSS and page building. So like people want to learn, people want to grow, and with good educational videos and then a great tool to back up the knowledge that you gain from those videos, you can also convert people to to ever increasing more professional ways of working. Like in my case, I went from Beaver Builder to Bricks, and I feel like with Bricks, I'm at a whole different, more professional level now, right? And then if I wanted, this is just my personal experience or my personal perspective on this, but if I wanted to level up now, then I would go closer to where you are now, Dave. And just a couple thoughts there from my side.
Yeah, I think that what I'm most interested in is like eventually I'm what you're seeing now is dev centric. But
Yep.
what I really think is like I am just on a tear, like building components. You saw them in my little library, and what I just built for you can be saved as a component. It can be saved as
Right.
an instantiable thing. You just slap it in. So like if I just build that library, then somebody doesn't, like I said before with the YouTube embed and with the Google Analytics tag, they don't really have to know the nuances and all the little best practices that I baked into it. They just have to know, they have to pick a thing, and then they have to just basically take that cooking class and learn how to edit it down to something that they're comfortable with. And then if they're curious about how to round the corners of this or add a drop shadow to that, then that's where the education can come in. I almost think that like it's so close to the metal that they could probably even ask AI.
Yeah.
And I think that there's
true.
probably one prompt that I could like give. I mean, this is where I want to like train AI on this kind of CSS syntax, but I want to say like, I'm working with a CSS syntax that separates properties and values by a colon. How would I add a drop shadow to this? Yeah.
I'm going to cut you short a little. I think like we're now 2 hours, 23 minutes in, and I know we have about 15 minutes of Brendan left. I still want to give Maxime the stage one more time to do a rapid fire build of a couple of sections, just to see how you again would build something in using advanced Steamer and Bricks. But before I do, I just want to quickly go through a couple of comments that I starred. I think they're more like, I just wanted to highlight them because sometimes they're funny, sometimes they contribute something to conversations we had earlier. So I'm just going to bring them up. So we had Richard Mullen here. It's crazy that AT is only a year old. Feels like it's been around for as long as Bricks. It's basically a point that I was also making, and it's also coming from the audience of Advanced Steamer, early adopter, and one of the best investments I've made. So this is really nice to see. What service is being used to deliver the live stream? I already responded to that in the chat, but this is EVMux, EVMUX. It's not too bad. It's a bit wonky on Linux, but I don't think many people are using Linux. So Max said, searching for Dave Bloom. So you do exist in Chicago Bloom Season 2, just so you know.
A lot of people in this world with my name, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
I couldn't even get the .com, whatever.
Right.
I'm not a marketer, not yet. I need you guys' help with that. This is why I'm
Yeah.
here.
Nell Media said a bunch of things while you were presenting the first time. Like you said, it's very niche specific. The question comment is, if I want to build a site in HTML, I won't be using WP to do so. I'll use PineGrow or something else. So there's a sentiment. We use WP just because it's faster to develop sites with it, and of course the whole ecosystem to add extensions. It's an argument that can certainly be made that how necessary is WordPress even anymore if you're going that close to hand coding.
I think it's extremely. I mean, you want to build your own login system, your own
Yeah, exactly.
your own user system, your own media library, your own like database functions. Like a lot of people, I think, got caught up like in the WordPress drama, which I won't like really dive into. But you know, we have to be thankful that somebody, no matter how like politically or corporately unhinged they may have become, set this stage for us to do this work, because there are no alternatives to it. And if you want to go over to something else, that's cool. Like, but I work with this because of so many other boxes being checked, especially just like the mental or like the muscle memory of posts and pages, and just the like being able to sell products with like easy digital downloads or something, like just stuff that's been handled. And because we're all pointed collectively at this North Star that is WordPress, we need to like be thankful for that and not just be so quick to like, that is a good argument. Like if you're coding, why use WordPress at all? It's like, well, because you're often collaborating with people who don't. Like that's the whole point. Unless you're, just making your own personal site, in which case go build it on CodePen or something. Like go build it yourself. But this is about creating value for businesses, and most businesses are staffed by a majority of people who don't code. So like you have to meet them where they are.
And we have two more comments before we can, I think we switch back to Maxime, and they actually lead well into Maxime's next point. So Kevin is saying, I'll start using AT if you start using ACSS. So just so consider it.
You won't use AT then.
You
will never use AT then.
Yeah. He also says that he secretly does like you. So, but he doesn't.
But don't tell him.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll make sure to not tell Maxime that.
Really secretly.
Yeah. And Nell Media says, why doesn't Maxime start dancing for us? So please start dancing.
Let's go.
Now, I mean, I thought we were on the closing stage, but it would be hard for me to pick up from where we were.
It's the boss level.
Do you want me to continue? I can do it.
Yes, please. Let's take another 10 minutes, 10, 15, something like that. Yeah. Not much more than that, because I'm pretty sure. I mean, we have 33 people left, so that's great. I'm really happy we still have a solid viewership here.
Without being the problem of the planet in 5 minutes, right? It's like
that's true. That's true. But we can try. So yeah, if you can, we still have your screen on anyway.
Yeah, I see on my screen. Let me get back to it.
Then I'm going to bring that up, and I'll let you.
Okay,
go ahead and
let me put this
build some more.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see some parts of the website come together.
So yeah, I'm not going to focus too much, because in 10 minutes I can't do much, right? And here, for example, this section with the icons. I mean, I believe if you are using bricks, there is no much value to build this now, because it's just an SVG and some text. There is not much value. What I wanted to show you is one. I wanted to apply a box shadow to this video here, and so this gives me the opportunity to go on the block here and to apply a function from Advanced Themer, which is the box shadow generator. And I can, with this generator, I can create really complex box shadows with a number of layers until 10. and have a complete control over each layer once I generate them. But I can also use presets and apply a box shadow really easily on this, and just quick apply, and you see that the box shadow with multiple layers, which is not easily doable in the core version of Bricks, is applied on the video. Okay, so right now I'm going to delete this and create a new section because, no, first of all, I wanted to show you the class converter, which is a popular function in Advanced Themer. So if you, now we styled everything on the ID level. Indeed, you have these, how to say these indicators on the right. It's red on the right, means you have styles on the ID level. And if you want to convert all these styles into classes, you can use a function called the class converter. Okay, just click on the class converter here. And now you can see that we can create classes based on the labels of each element. And you can decide also to copy the ID styles to the classes. Okay, so you don't have to manually transfer each from an ID to a class. We can also say to erase the ID styles and to sync the labels and create the classes. When you do that, on one click, all the styles from each element have transferred on a class that is created on each element from AT. Okay, so if you go to the block, you see the section block, and the button will have the section button, all in a BEM methodology. Okay, so I'm going quick because I know we have just a few minutes. But the last thing I wanted to show you maybe is creating this section, maybe, just to show you a popular function from AT, which is a grid builder. And so I'm going to create now one div with, let me see how it is structured, a heading, sorry, and basic text. Okay, let's say, okay, I believe we can duplicate right now in 4. Let's slide it really quick. Okay, so each block will have a padding. We'll make it padding S maybe. No, sorry, wrong here. Okay, let's maybe put a border maybe. Okay, not really important, but let's just try now box shadow. And we'll do our border here. Okay. And okay, so let's just put the text in it, just to have something else than adding. Okay, and this one. Still in the basic text. Okay. Let's delete and reapply. So we have the same text here. Oh, wait. Let's put a minimum 8. Let's say, I don't know. No, 400 is maybe too much. No, 400 is okay. And let's apply the background. Which one is it? This one. I saved them before. You see my effort. I saved them. Okay. And let's right now let's duplicate. Okay, I'm not going to style too much, but if I go to the container now, I want to apply a grid, right? So if I go to the content and change display from flex to grid, I have now a new icon here, the grid builder, which is a no-code solution to create grids. And so I can say that we want 2 columns, we want maybe 10 rows. Okay, and let's say, oh, it's done. You see that there are four cards, and there is this little intersection here, So we can just go and visually build it, and it will be 6 maybe, and this one 4 or something. Okay, I'm just going to drag and drop the items and just apply. I may use here a gap, so let's say space. No, what was it? I don't remember. What was it? Space. Okay, space. We can say L maybe. Okay, and just apply grid. And okay, I need to just let's remove the 8. It wasn't 8. That's 100%. And by the way, probably I can find and replace maybe here. So if I go here, and do I have find and replace activated? No, I'm going to here then. No, maybe it's not find and replace. Let me. I'm starting to be a bit tired. Sorry, guys. Just
Does that
All good.
grid builder looks pretty slick? Does that handle like the responsive stacking too? So like obviously it's probably writing like row span classes or something.
Yeah.
Like when you go to mobile, is it just stacking them?
Yeah. So if we go back to the grid builder and we go here, you can then change the media queries here. Okay. And so, for example, here we can just go back and say no rows and no columns. Let's say 1 columns, and let's say I have 4 rows. Okay, but now you see that I manually set a span on here. So to fix it, I have here I need to remove the span manually, and normally it should fit again. So I need to do the same here. Do 1 and remove this, and do the same here. Remove this.
Wait, wasn't it something you can still do via drag and drop?
Yeah, you can use drag and drop actually. Yeah. So
okay.
for example, here instead of changing columns, you can drag and do this.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off. I just was curious if this like
so we can
extraction was
replace
capable of that. Yeah.
them. Oops, it is the same. Sorry, and it is the same. It should be wow. Anyway, okay, now I am.
The system becomes clear.
Yeah. So and now on all mobile, you will see that it will normally you go from desktop to tablet and it should be stacked. So if I apply now on the tablets, it's like this, and on the desktop, it's like this.
Cool.
So if now I put a minimum width here, sorry, a minimum 8, let's say 800 or something. Let's why am I okay like this? We should have now our little intersection, right? Like the original website. Well, it's opposite, right? It should be larger on the right and not on the left, but you get my point. We can change it in a second. So you can just get here, content, reopen the grid builder, and just rechange like this, and it should do it. Up, reapply the grid, and you see that the grid reapply like this. Okay. There are a lot of other things. I think I took about 10 minutes.
It's about right.
Yeah, it's about right. I will stop here because if I continue, there is a lot of things to show, but yeah, I think
I feel like still we've just looked at the tip of the iceberg, but I think it's a very nice introduction that you've been able to give us, and like especially stuff like the indicators that show if you have styling on the class or on the ID is so cool. I mean, before I bought Bricks, I was on Oxygen for I don't know, like 4 minutes, give or take, because I bought it like probably 2 weeks before the whole breakdance thing happened, and then I just ran to bricks. But one of the things I appreciated, at least if I remember correctly, it does have these kinds of indicators where it shows you this has a class on it and this has an ID styling on it, and I felt like that was missing from bricks. So when you introduce AT, and I think this was among the first features you had, I was immediately
it came
sold.
with 1.0.
Yeah, right.
The last thing I
And
want to show to Dave, because
yes,
I
please.
think it's related. The last thing, okay. If I remove each section, in the last release, I introduced the code pen converter, and I
Oh
want to
yes.
show you that in Advanced Themer there is a panel where you can actually create, use HTML to use class. And
Now we're talking, man. Now we're talking.
we're
Now we're
talking.
talking. This is it.
Maxime, okay, and I will
But you're
close.
coding. Is this code? Okay, but yeah.
And let's say I want an H1, and I want to say hello internet. That's my signature.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah. And you can also add some CSS or some JavaScript here. You have also other option. I'm not going to go into this, but if I import and close, it will generate the
Freudian slip
elements
there.
created from the code.
Which also just shows us how fucking awesome bricks is, because in Elementor, it's just not a thing you could do, because Elementor just adds a shitload of code around that.
So basically,
and with bricks,
this
you get what you like.
can take any code from CodePen and
Yeah.
integrate with the core element of bricks.
Yeah.
So going from
Right.
code, no code. From the discussion we had before, is going from code to no code.
Indeed.
All right, Brendan, you got to leave. So, thanks, Brendan. You're muted.
You're muted, buddy.
I muted you. Hang on.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Okay, yeah.
No, I was just saying thanks a lot for having me. I got to bounce off. I got clients that are very angry. So I will say my goodbyes to everyone, but thank you. And continue on.
Thanks, Brendan. Cool.
Can I take a crack at this? Or are we done?
I would say we're pretty much done. You wrote hell internet.
No, I mean, like, should I build that bento thing, or are we done with the show?
I would say we've probably reached the end of the stream.
Cool.
We could give it another few minutes just to have a little bit more conversation. There's a couple of points that I still had here in the chat. Like, for instance, Brendan wrote the import styles to class. Like, we had a quick conversation about how the class converter is a really useful tool, especially because it allows us to just style on ID level and then later just take all the styles from ID level and put them into classes, which is really convenient. And Brendan kind of wrote that down here. I've worked with designers that don't understand BEM but design well, so they can ID style, and then I can come in after and BEM everything with their style. So that's a really nice feature to have. And then where was it? Shut-in 105 followed up with Brendan O'Connor. Admin note, please BEM me. So that's another feature that AT has. You can add notes to elements in the structure panel, which is really cool. Well, you can show them. No, wait, you add them in the left panel, right? And then in the structure panel, you can show them.
Oops, sorry. Basically, here you can add notes, and then you can show them inside the structure.
Yeah, that's another thing that I like. I think you recently introduced it, like 2 or 3 versions ago.
It was like a couple of releases ago. Yeah,
exactly. And that was another thing where I was like, I had so many cases where I was like, oh, I wish I could just leave a note for myself here. And then
you have both the ability to write a note for yourself or for other admins, other developers that work on the project. And you can also leave notes for your clients or for editors that don't know anything about code. So you have 2 ways of adding notes. or adding notes or how-to text, right? So yeah.
Yeah, cool. So closing thoughts. Do we have closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I was super happy to be here and see Dave work. I believe he has still a lot on his way, and he's going
Mhm.
to build, when he's going to build this top this on top structure for people that may not be confident with code. It will take a whole another level,
Yeah.
and I'm really keen to see where he's going, and it's really interesting. And as a developer, uh, we tend to to use this kind of workflow, right? We feel comfortable with writing code. And for myself, if I had to build a website myself, I would probably go towards a solution like Dave Show, because it just talks the developer language, right? And you feel comfortable with this kind of workflow. So it was
Thank you.
super interesting.
Thank you very much.
I want to. Can I show? I'm not going to do building, but can I show one more thing that this can do that kind of ties into a closing comment?
Absolutely.
How much time do we have left? Like 4 minutes or something?
It's not a hard limit, but yeah,
Cool.
like
All
5 to
right.
10 minutes.
So the idea I think that I may have expressed,
I'm not
or
seeing your screen
maybe
though.
not so much, I'm sure,
Yeah, right. Okay.
is that yes, developers can develop, and there are different ways to think about this as builders. And so if we think about Aviator as less of a builder and more of a leveraging tool or a leveraging portal to communicate the work that professionals can do to amateurs to leverage, then it kind of changes a lot of the feature set, and it changes a lot of the thinking. It's kind of like, I give you, like, if somebody went to this site and said, I want this entire layout now, like, could we deliver that to them, or could I take an hour and build it out for them in terms of components that they can subsequently import into their thing? They don't maybe know every little nook and cranny of what made what happen, but they are still able to obtain a shippable layout that is arguably editable if you just double click on the thing and look for the text you want to edit. Like, that's like my goal. It's like, it's not about like, I want to help non-coders build up from blankness. I really want to help non-coders not have to build at all and just say, I want that pancake, I want that pancake, and they build their stack of pancakes. And then they spend a little bit of time like learning how to edit and refine them, as opposed to needing to know every machination that goes into their creation. That's what most builders are tasked with, and that's why it can get so complicated. So like before this call, I wrote out this craft. I've been working in craft too, and this is where we are now. I wrote this out, and I did build this bento grid, and I built it in the way that they built it, where they actually ended up, they make a grid that has 3 rows in it. The top row is like 747 pixels tall. The middle row is 72 pixels tall.
Right.
And the third row is 747 pixels tall. So you can see it right there. And so that first element has like a row span of 1, and the second one has a row span of 2,
Exactly. Yeah.
and so on. So I did this work, and it's here. It's in, like mock-up style, but there's a banner above it. And I could probably like tell this to go away, replace this with their word, and then build these 2 guys next to it. So here's what I would do. If I go into Aviator, and I want to put this in my library as a developer, I just hit this. And what this does is it builds like a stack of selected nodes, and I can create a component with it. Maybe I want to build actually these 2. I want this whole thing to be like a middle region of a website, like social proof and feature bento. Okay. If I go ahead and create this, I can call this, craft middle or something like that. And I'll call it a region. A section is like one of these pancakes. Or a region is kind of a group of sections, and a layout is a group of regions. I don't really need to, maybe I'll just call this craft. This one definitely needs some work. This is select to BS. But now I get the JSON to do it. And if I jump over to my project, and this is something that I'm doing as the developer of the theme, but if I could put this JSON into some input that would add it to the component library, I'm just going to make a new region called craft. What was it called? Mid or something, .json or whatever. And I paste it in. Okay. So now I'm going to refresh my admin because that's actually firing the hook that kind of refreshes the components library. That's Nerdsville. But if I refresh here, I should be able to see that region that I saved, hopefully. If not, this is going to fall flat on its ass in my library. And here we go. Okay. It didn't like the preview is a little bit busted because I think I was using like a repeater of some sort, but the code is there. And if I bring it in and change that, looks like this got a little bit flipped, but we can see that that work is delivered. And I can put this up here. So my hard coding work that coding did is delivered. I save and I preview the saved thing, and I've got it, right? And it's going to be responsive. Let's close these guys out so you can see. And everything is just kind of, let's see, let's make sure these guys are actually, okay, maybe the responsive design was a little bit borked, but we got like the gist of it. I can make a few adjustments to that, but it's there. So then when they want to go in and edit it, they could, you know, another HTML friendly person could go in and change this tagline, which I think they could probably do a better job of coming up with a tagline. Maybe they skimped on their marketing budget there. But I could also extract this into a field just like I did before and just call it headline powerful here, punch that in, and then they see this. So when they drop the component in, they see this and they could go like, you know, expect the unexpected, right? Shows up in the table of contents just fine too. And now I have this lane, or like this like portal that they can go in. I didn't have to write any code. You didn't see me like fashioning this. I'd already done that work. And now we can save, and that will go into the HTML properly so that we can like allow, that's the non-coder's path. So as long as they can just, I build a rich component library here, that's like kind of that middle ground where there's still like the developer is able to queue up components for their clients or customers of their service to use. And then there are ways that we can start to like reveal or hide, you know, simple and complex parts of the UI so that we don't have to just make this decision like, are we coding or are we not? We're both. It's kind of like a car with an automatic and a manual transmission, depending on how you drive. You don't have to just be like, automatic transmission, pitchforks out. No, manual is better. You feel the road. Like you can do what you want to do. So that is the goal of this. And that's where I will continue the work, is like making more surfaces for non-coders to work with, but mostly just like building the shit out of the entire internet into this components library and having it just be like, just layout after layout. This is my like dead simple personal website layout. Some people just need like a personal website that's just done. Like they don't need to think about the creative parts of it. They just need to pick from some like web designer's idea of what a nice, simple, responsive, performant, accessible personal website looks like. And they go, yeah, that'll do. Slam it in, fill it in, and ship it the same day, as opposed to like, you know, get their pot of coffee brewing and have to learn a builder. Like it just, you don't have to learn all of this to use it, I guess is my whole thing. Like you don't have to know all of this to use it. Just like you don't have to know how Google Analytics tag script works to use it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So that's
so got a couple more comments there as well. So you do have an audience now, so the pressure's on.
Okay.
People were asking how they can get a hold of you. So I already mentioned, if you check the description of the stream on YouTube, there's a link to Dave's mailing list, so you can sign up there and keep up to date with what he's doing. And as far as I know, there's so far no website for the builder.
Not yet. I'm going to build it with it. But you can
Right.
go to davebloom.dev if you need to reach out to me. So like if
Okay.
you want to talk shop or you need something built. But yeah, the idea was to like build the sales site with it, obviously.
Right.
And that's next. I just
Do
wanted
you
to kind of
have
kick the tires of it.
a YouTube channel?
I do.
Okay, cool.
I did one video for a guy who was struggling to build a footer with the block editor.
Okay.
And that was my like maiden voyage of showing off Aviator. I was like, what if you just did this? And he's like, where can I get this? And I'm like, it's not for sale yet. Sorry. And then I just lost this, like I just totally screwed the pooch there. So at least I know that like people are kind of raising an eyebrow at this and going like, huh, maybe I am a coder. I just have been taught wrong, or it's been made scary to me. It's like this villain. I mean, even the language we use around it, like getting your hands dirty, or
Right.
like it just like it is a language, and we all have command of one or multiple languages. It's like it took time for us to get that, but we would be in trouble if we didn't. So it's
Mm.
like languages are worth learning, and abstractions of those languages are worth learning. Um, I want to just get back to like the roots of CodePen, and just
Mm.
like what you type in shows up. That's it. So
What else do we
I
have
will
here?
more to
Just
come.
going,
Yeah.
just going through the comments. I think as far as conversation comments is concerned, we're also at the end. Um, I wanna say I'm really glad. First of all, I'm really glad to be back. This has been fantastic. I want to say thank you to you two guys. It's really great. Maxime, how can we get a hold of you? You have a YouTube channel,
Yep.
and there's advancedthema.com, I believe, without uh, a hyphen in it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm going to post your YouTube channel as well in the comments. I'm going to pin it. And Dave, I know your YouTube channel only has one video so far, but would you consider, like, do you think it's worth signing up for? Are you planning to do more YouTube stuff as well, or would you,
Yes.
for now, just say mailing list and that's it?
I would say, yeah, go to the YouTube channel. It should be the Ginger Soul one. I think I think I can go find that. Like, I don't have it in my pocket because it's been somewhat of an afterthought. And honestly, I've
Right.
been in the lab for such a long
Oh, it's,
time that I
yeah.
haven't even thought about promoting this. But now, like, what I heard from one of the commenters was like, um, education is key here.
Yeah.
And I have no problem spending a little bit of time every day just saying like, here's how to build this with Aviator.
Right.
And just look at a simple site, look at a award-winning site, look at some crazy green sock stuff, look at
Mm.
some like wild stuff like this that maybe would take too much time or would take a whole lot of TLC, and just be like, here's how I'd approach this. And I think that like a bunch of videos along those lines like would help. And then I can start to get some feedback like, oh, I need that to be, I need this website to be, I need the Stripe homepage to be expressed in
Right.
Aviator. I need like just a common fair blog feed or something like that. Just give me something I can pull in, because I gotta get, or this website's footer sucks. Give me the one with all the nice, stacks and the little copyright below. We didn't build the footer here, but I was thinking about doing that. I built it on my own just as practice, but yeah, definitely going to be cranking out some videos. And this was
Okay,
helpful for
perfect.
me because I'm a little bit shy about that sometimes, but now I don't
Right.
feel shy anymore.
Perfect. Then I'm going to collect that from you, and this will be the first pinned comment probably sometime tomorrow.
Awesome.
And just from my side, I kind of felt somebody also mentioned that there should be a part 2 where people build more. We also have the Bridge Builder Brains kind of spin-off series where we just bring people on to do something that's sort of part of the format but not the main show format. So we discuss, like for instance with Max Sibel, we discussed AI. I had a really long conversation about that. And so there's one website that I came across when we did the preps for this, and I kind of want to bring this up for discussion for the people that are still left in the stream and in the audience. So it's genuinelyjoe.com. Let me just share my screen here. Entire screen. There. This one. I think I just Googled photographer Chicago or something. I was just like, let's see what I can find. And I thought this website had a really beautiful design, and it has a bunch of things. You guys might remember we looked at that together that I found challenging. Wait, I don't have. Ah, shit! I should perhaps share my.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah, yeah.
do I have it?
That makes
Is it? No. What am I doing wrong? Come on, EVMux.
No, I didn't forget about that one, and it was like it looked like a challenge to me. I was like, all right,
There.
yeah.
There we go. Okay, so this is the website, genuinelyjoe.com. And yeah, it is a challenge. And we kind of agreed that it might be a little bit, it might be a nuisance to just go into the nitty gritty of building all these things. But what I found especially intriguing about this is that we have these lines here in the background, right? And obviously these are not SVGs or PNGs or some shit like that, but they're actual lines that the browsers renders. So I think they're using before and after elements or something. And then we have this, these free floating images. So it's something that is a little bit out of the ordinary in terms of a design challenge. And I personally love these things. And I love digging my claws into that and finding out how can I build this? How did they build this? First of all, look at that and see, like, did they do it the best way? Like, can I conceive of a better way to build this? So this might be an interesting challenge for a future episode, either a regular Bridge Builders episode or a Bridge Builder Brains episode where we just get 2 or 3 people on there that kind of build this ahead of time, and then just we discuss how they got to that result with their respective tools. So what I would ask you guys is to leave a comment and let me know if this is something you would like to see, if you would like to see somebody build this website, or show us how they would build it. So
What do you think? What do you think, Maxime? How would you handle those connector lines?
Yeah, I mean, borders and before and afters. Yeah.
Can you resize that, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can see those lines like kind of move. There's a lot of JavaScript detecting where they are. I think.
Are there?
Yeah.
There's JavaScript in there.
Oh yeah, like because if you make the site narrower, you'll see those
right.
lines
Yeah.
like
Because
move.
if you go to
Yeah. And like if you drag it, like you'll see them kind of still stay kind of centered with what
So
they
there's-
kind of are pointing to. So
okay, now it's kind of messed
it's
up.
getting
Oh
a
no,
little
wait,
bit
there's
janky.
supposed to be a slider here. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I'm sure
If you
I would
refresh
guess
it in
that
that state, it would work. But like, it's probably
a
not
whole bunch of
designed to be
custom
aggressively reside.
custom coding went into this for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
But it is
be
like I almost think you could do it more simply just by like, for example, that headline capturing your story could have like essentially a 1 pixel wide like div position center on top of it, and then like the top of the container that all of that sits in could have like also some absolute positioning. You'd have to probably wield some JavaScript to keep them touching, like to keep those lines touching, because they technically, I think they are separate elements. But there's also another like library called Leader Line. It's an old jQuery library that was meant for like connecting two elements on a page, kind of like you would connect two things in a fig jam or like a wireframe or like a user flow diagram. So doing that with jQuery, but they're like this is heavy on the JS to recalculate those and to keep those lines like around stuff. So, but yeah, it would be fun to.
Could be an interesting one.
Yeah.
All right. Just putting it up for discussion. Well, I guess this is it, guys. I'm hungry. I don't know about you. Yeah, so I will see everybody soon. Thank you very much for watching. And thanks to you guys, to you two for being here. This was fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I look
forward to more.
This is fun.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Nice to chat with y'all.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So long.